All right, let's get it going. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Smudcast number 837, The Problem with Warhammer 40K. Now, usually when I hear a title like this, I think this is a fan. He loves the genre. He loves the franchise, whatever it is. And he's coming from a place of affection and criticism and what a fanboy or what a fan would say. That if only they changed that, or if this was off, or maybe they get a different this or that, then you'd be like, great. That's the kind of criticism I want when you say there's a problem with this. Like if I were to make a Mass Effect video, the problem with Mass Effect, I'd start with the writers. I just talk about writing the entire time. This writing, this plot point, this character, blah, blah, blah. Be simple, straightforward stuff.
If only there hadn't been the latest price hike.
Okay.
Again.
A price hike on what exactly?
Or increase, whatever the English word is.
Oh, inflation? Okay. Well, in this case...
Warhammer keeps, Games Workshop keeps increasing the prices.
Oh.
To 400 times. 400 times the actual growth of inflation,
you
by the way.
That the prices would go down over time.
If you had bought Warhammer plastic in 2010 and resold it now, you would make a profit. All
right. Well, let's get the video going. It's 22 minutes long, so it might take a little longer for us. This is from Adam something. This is a 1.3 million sub account. This came out November 30th this year and has almost 450,000 views. That's pretty decent for what he's doing. The problem is he's got about a 60% ratio on likes to dislikes. So that is not good.
Yeah, before we go anywhere, I would say that a few years ago at least, this guy had like about 100,000 and I saw his videos everywhere. I had to actually fight with YouTube algorithm for it to stop showing me his videos. It was pushed everywhere.
There's some commies on YouTube, and one of them is Sean and Jen, the other Vosh, effectively, that were pushed so hard by the algorithm, while the people critical of the woke crap had their channels cut and hidden. YouTube is clearly taking sides in political sides. And then that makes you wonder, well, if you push for communism, why then do you want to make so much money, YouTube? You filthy capitalists.
Okay.
So for the longest time, I've been at least somewhat associated with politics on my YouTube, like recommendations, just because I like history, philosophy, like discussions on topics in politics of the modern era, especially stuff that's going on with like Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Hamas, all that good stuff. I have never heard of this guy.
Simple things like Israel-Palestine.
I think we might have covered him before.
I didn't say simple. I just said stuff like...
Anyway.
I think the first time I saw his videos was him simping for federal states of Europe. So, yeah.
Huh.
Oh the federal states of Europe? Fucking excuse me.
Yes.
Germany is already comprised of federal states.
No. So entire EU becomes one country, like United States.
I know,
but that was his idea.
The plan. That is the plan of the EU in the long run. It always was, and it must be prevented at all costs, because what they want to build is not the federal states of Europe, but the Soviet Europe, because that's what you can already see. We have a commission at the top with commissars that nobody has ever elected.
Nobody even knows the names of them, by the way.
Well, we know currently from Germany, because we hated Ursula von der Leyen here in Germany because she always was a complete joke and tyrant. In 2009, she was pushing for DNS blocks for websites to censor the internet on the pretense of child protection, which was complete nonsense, while it would not help at all with anything, and the practice was already tested out in other countries like New Zealand, Australia, where the lists of the blocked websites, which is basically like the Chinese intranet being censored, on that thing where dentist offices, because the other dentists didn't like competition, so was already blacklisting people. It's just horrible.
All right. Well, let's get going. We have a lot to cover, I'm sure, depending on what he touches, but it will take some time. So here we go.
Warhammer is a universe where people fight wars using hammers. Okay, not really. Warhammer 40K is a massive, bombastic universe in the grimdark future of the 40th millennium.
41st millennium, retard.
Yes,
where
also
humanity is fighting wars at an
Also, some do use giant hammers. It's not entirely wrong.
epic fronts against all sorts of horrors. Space orcs, space elves, literal demons from hell, humans corrupted by literal demons from hell, the Zerg, and also the Tau. Warhammer got its start as a tabletop game, and at the core it still is. Imagine chess but more complex, where two players bring out their hand-painted armies of miniatures and battle it out on a large board. It's a cool experience at game stores or game bars where you get to meet people, socialize, and show off your cool miniatures. Today, however, the Warhammer IP has already outgrown its tabletop niche and now includes ultra-popular AAA game titles such as the latest Space Marine 2, with more than 2 million copies sold worldwide.
What do you mean outgrown? Everything that goes beyond the tabletop is enslaved to the tabletop.
Yeah.
This is why I said that this guy takes his knowledge about this topic from Reddit. It seems he has such surface level views that it's,
There were Warhammer 40K video games in the 90s. Some were crap, and some are still played today. Then we have the whole Blizzard debacle with Warcraft and Starcraft, which are inspired by it because they didn't get the license because GW was stupid to not give Blizzard the license.
They pulled out at the little last second.
Yeah, and now look what they missed.
This is sounding like a journalist who doesn't know anything about Warhammer making a blog entry. And
you mean a games journalist?
Not necessarily a games journalist, just like a media journalist or whatever. And he's trying to describe
as a slander.
Well, no, he's trying to describe the game research. Like it used to be tabletop. Now it's this or that, and he's just using a word to describe the transition, which is not a very good way of summarizing 20, 30 years.
I think his main point here is that in the public view, the IP is a bit more, you could say, it has grown in the public view. The tabletop still remains like the biggest part, you could say, but the overall games and all of that are in the public consciousness, you could say. So people see this, and he will be making some points about how certain characters are portrayed different than they should be.
Oh.
And there is a lot of different connotations in there.
In my experience, most people seem to know Warhammer in every way but the tabletop. The tabletop is the niche of Warhammer at this point.
I'm waiting for the...
Maybe that's how you could say it's outgrown that the core, but I don't think that's how he means it.
I'm waiting for the Italian float of the God King Emperor Trump just to come across the screen for 2 seconds for no reason.
Oh, I hope we'll see it. It's amazing. I want it in my garden.
We're absolutely going to be seeing Trump show up. I can fucking bet you.
Okay. But what you said about the level of journalism here, in the early 2000s, the big German yellow press paper Bild, which means picture, tried to start a computer magazine. It's also still running, and they also wanted a video games review part in it. As they started out with complete nincompoops who never heard of video games, but were put at the desk of the video games, the first reviews there were written about Game Boy games, and the journalist, in very big quotation marks, in question, then wrote, I don't remember which game it was one of the more known Nintendo titles, that as a negative, the game seemed very simplistic because it only had 2 buttons, A and B. So he was complaining about the Game Boy, not the game he was playing on the Game Boy. He could not even distinguish between the console and the game. And that is the level that he sounds like.
All right, let's go.
But the has not been without its controversies. We now have Gamergaters accusing the parent company Games Workshop of turning the game woke by introducing into it the most absurd creatures of all.
Wait, what? Gamergaters?
Yes. So
Yes.
this guy
Because
is
it was Sargon.
Yep, this guy is so far down the Kool-Aid that he just calls anyone that disagrees with his political side Gamergaters.
Yes.
Decade on, they are still
is-
butthurt.
Did they
is what they
cryo-freeze the
always do.
feminists and communists in 20, what was it, 14?
No,
11?
it's
And now they're, every year they are unfreezing one of them. And
No,
then
Wisp,
immediately
they never
get to
left.
say,
they never-
Gamergate!
Yeah, they never left. It's just if you have if you listen to certain people, it's all there will always be some mention of Gamergate, and it's
And these are the people who call
insane.
everyone conspiracy theorists.
Yes,
But
every
they see
single
Gamergaters
conversation.
behind every bush and tree.
Yes,
It's
if you've
exactly
ever
the same thing. Now, pay attention. So there are phantom Gamergaters everywhere, probably in the room with him right now. The exact same way they invoke Nazis all the time. That are also everywhere behind every bush and every tree, and we are supposed to be scared and do as they say because we have to fend off the Nazis. It's the same here. Gamergaters everywhere. Sorry for steamrolling.
All right.
Women. No, wait, it's actually even more ridiculous. Gamergaters are
Women are very strange creatures. If you look into the science, it's hilarious, but go on.
mad that Games Workshop changed the lore of one of the factions that no one plays or cares about by saying that some of its soldiers can be women.
Nobody plays or cares about one of the best-selling factions in the history of Warhammer 40K by the length of their release and by the edition they were added. These guys have shot into popularity both in the actual competitive scenario. The common understanding what a custodes is has risen to an unfathomable degree. Back, like just a couple of years ago, we're talking like 16. Nobody knew, if you asked them on the street, what a fucking custodes is, unless they've heard about them getting their asses kicked by the Eldar during the Beast of Rice series, which also weren't custodes, they were custodian associated people, but that's besides the point. Yeah. Nobody fucking knew about the custodes because they were the elite guard. They stuck inside the vault or inside the webway killing demons under the Imperial Palace. That was it. Their extensive lore was just them being really good spies in the Horus Heresy and being really good attack dogs in 40k. They weren't relevant in the sense that they weren't a playable army. Then when they finally became a playable army, they got all kinds of sub-factions with their own lore. They got these battle boxes, as he's showing on screen, the combat patrols. They got all these new characters that goes across 30k and 40k, despite only having a singular character, Captain Valdor, that has persisted for like 10,000 years. But nonetheless, they're extremely popular for how quickly they were, or how relatively new they are. Unlike the foreskin
dominated
dwarves.
tournaments because they were, as per usual, overpowered for a good time.
Yeah, unlike but the Hearthkin. Yeah, the dwarves, or not dwarves, those guys, despite being extremely strong in competitive scenarios, they immediately got fucking nerfed because people just refused to play them. And nobody actually gives a shit about those guys. Nobody's going out there collecting them unless it's just spite the chuds. If you ever go on Reddit, just ask about the Hearthkin. It's always to own the people that actually like squats.
Yeah, but lore-wise, the custodes play an integral part in it. They have a pivotal role in the whole mechanics of the Imperium. And you can't just change that at its foundation.
Yeah,
because they effectively function like you have to correct me on the Bible stuff here, like Seraphim or something like that.
No, I would definitely.
They're close around the throne of God, and they're almost automatons in most ways. They're not very individual.
All right, here is the thread knot for a £10 super chat. Converting to Canadian, that's probably around $18. Nobody cares about or plays. Space Marines are as iconic to the franchise as Spartans in Halo. white hoods in Assassin's Creed or spiky blonde hair and that cartoon Ginga's always angrily typing into chat. Yeah.
But that's the funny part. Custodes are better than Marines.
Yeah.
They're superior in stats. They are superior in every single category, except they don't get a, defensive bonus or a charge bonus because they're disorganized. They're individual wars, at least in 30k, and partially in 40k. Which is why these Sisters of Silence are always around them, because they fight a lot better in squads and counter, the Custodes' weakness, which is psychic bullshit.
They're basically another branch of the entire super soldier experiment.
Talents of the Emperor, yeah.
That sounds like the difference between the SEALs and the Delta Force. I don't know if you guys know the difference in the American military, but the SEALs are a group, and Delta Force are individuals, and that's kind of the difference. But if you want an individual, you go for Delta. If you want a team to get a job done, you go to the SEALs. Anyway, that's cool.
This is kind of what I meant. This whole point with him having extremely surface level knowledge, because even I know some stuff about 40k, even though I am not very deep into it. But he's just saying, some minor faction, something, and women were added, completely disregarding the part that there is a female faction, you could say.
They have a sub-faction,
40K.
the Sisters of Silence, which have it's an absolutely amazing idea. They're the rarest of the rare, and you have that in there. They fulfill a different role, but a commie cannot accept that the sexes are different in any way.
It's not even that. It's just to own the chuds. If you've ever seen Jason Schreier post on Twitter, he will go on to say that, I don't like whatever it is that's making people mad. I don't like the game myself, referencing the Veilguard, for example. But because it owns the chuds and makes them mad, he will support it. He ended up deleting that tweet, by the way.
And these are the people who want to unite us all instead of dividing us, when this is an action of division.
All right, let's keep going.
If you assembling the miniatures, you can decide what head you put on them, and this resulted in a global outrage among people who have never touched a Warhammer miniature.
I am
Rather
holding
the opposite. The
in
people
my
who pushed us have never touched one.
I am holding a Space Rain right fucking now from, I dare say, 2021. I made this guy. This guy does not mean me holding this guy in my hands, regardless of his painting level, regardless of his origin as a model, does not mean that I am an authority on 40k. Neither does it make it anyone's business how deep into the modeling that somebody is in the game. Because if you try to pull that shit, you're essentially just creating an artificial barrier for discussion. Because Warhammer is intentionally so large that you can engage with it in many different ways. A lot of people that get fucking pissed are the exact people that are into the lore, the storytelling, the reason why 40k had an actual ref in the first editions of Rogue Trader. Because it was about the storytelling of your dudes fighting your friends' dudes.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't about this competitive bullshit.
And you know what you do to your own models, that is your problem. That is your fun. But that is not the law. Your fan fiction is never the actual canon law in anything. Your shipping characters to be gay now does not make them such. And you know what pisses me off about this? Just 3 days before they had announced this shit, I had bought the Combat Patrol of the Custodes, the old one, because our comic shop still had one. And I thought, hey, that would make a great contrast to the mass army of Necrons I would otherwise go for, or I am working on. But so here I have these other guys who work completely differently and are also different to work on. And 3 days later, by the way, we change everything now, retroactively. No, fuck off. I haven't touched I haven't touched any of my Warhammer stuff or bought anything since. I just lost complete interest.
Yeah, one of the things that I think Arch said when this point was made about, you can put whatever head you want on the model, was that apparently until this day there are still no female models.
Right. So a customer was actually asking. Okay, when are we actually getting? Okay.
Yeah. So despite this minor change that nobody cares about, but made a big sting, there is no models. Nothing happened.
So there's two questions here. One, where's the female Necrons? Two, why would they have to look different if men and women are exactly the same anyway? As his ideology claims, for some reason.
Also, the guy in the thumbnail here, Warhammer creators respond to female custodians controversy. The creators didn't respond to it. The community manager responded to it.
All right. Here is.
Why does the left always have to create controversy? In order to stir up shit and gain ground.
Here's a donation from Sequiro Dildos Die Twice. I swear that I'm just reading the names are more interesting than the actual comments, but thank you for the donation. Games Workshop to their customers after bending the knee to obese Marxist sex offenders and adding female custodes. I said I would shit on them. Then I spread my cheeks and I hit them with an absolute screamer.
Oddly specific, but I respect the hustle.
Okay. I have nothing to say about that. All right, let's keep going.
Or a woman. That's it, Games Workshop. I could suspend my disbelief for space orcs, space elves, and hell in space run by space demons, but women? If women are real, how come I never touched one? On the other.
And this is the beautiful argument. That thing with the BMW. You can suspend your disbelief for orcs, fantasy, elves, dragons, but you cannot believe the what was it? The BMW 530i with optional heated seats. Are you a bigot? That was basically the thing. This is the type of argumentation that is here. And it's completely stupid.
Found it. So you can accept dragons, elves, and talking trees, but you can't accept a 2021 BMW 5 Series 530i with optional heated seating. Why are you so bigoted?
Yeah. It's basically this line of argumentation. It's horrible.
And I would believe him that he has never touched a woman because he's trying to pander to some crazy cat lady feminist who had shaved her hair because Trump got elected.
I wouldn't say he's that ambitious. I think that's...
As usually what they do.
Maybe.
But that aside, why do you hate the Sisters of Silence? Why do you deny their existence? Why do you seek to erase the women who don't even speak? What is your problem? Why do you hate the Sisters Sororitas? Sisters Sororitas, what the fuck? It's late.
No, it's actually true. He's not gonna mention the Sisters of Battle at all.
This is what they really do. What about the Assassinorum? They have female special agents. Also don't count.
The argument
the guard is full of women. What the hell? Which I find insane, by the way, because who's gonna make the babies? Who's gonna make the baby soldiers?
All the women that are right in the head. It is hilarious though, because one of the more recent guard books, almost all the recent guard books that aren't fucking Krieg are all led by women.
Yeah.
There's the one that was led by Krieg's daughter. There was the promotional one with the chick that's also gay. They got a limited run model. Like all the recent guard books have been led by women or have major leading characters that are women. Even in Krieg book, the fucking Krieg book.
I remember
the main point of view
had a really ugly female leader model. But
I'm
not deep into AOS, so I don't remember the name.
Well, nobody cares about AOS anyway, so it doesn't really matter. lore-wise, anyways, Age of Sigmar sells pretty well, as far as I understand. It's like pretty well written system-wise, but nobody fucking gives a shit about the lore, and you can't convince me otherwise. Looking at those sales for the campaign book, nobody's rolling up the table to play on this irrelevant other world. Because unlike 40k, there's literally no consequence if chaos takes over another world they just made up.
However, why are they doing this? And it's only ever. So evidence to the contrary will always be ignored. It's only ever about gaining yet another inch. That's the whole tactics of the socialists, of the communists. It's what they always do about every topic. That's why you cannot actually reason with them. You cannot actually argue with them. You cannot have a discussion or debate, because they are not there for reason, for rationality, for an honest exchange of arguments. They are only there to win, and they will say whatever they need in order to confuse you so that you just give up. That's why they have so much energy. They don't actually care about the arguments they make. They only care about exhausting you until you roll over and just let them take you up the ass.
I discussed this with a friend before we continue. I discussed this with a friend who's relatively new into 40k, and he was wondering why people kept bitching about no women in 40k when there's an entire faction of women with fleur-de-lis titty armor. Like the most feminine, like power fantasy bullshit you can think of, who are almost equal to Space Marines and outnumber them 10-1. If not 100-1. And his conclusion after discussing this with people that fervorously chant more women in 40k, who have never heard of this sororities or sister battle, and when they hear about them, are fucking repulsed by them, like an actual opposite magnet reaction. He just came to a conclusion that, yeah, the people chanting this shit just hate women. Unironically, they just despise women. It's just a sledgehammer to beat people's knees in.
I wish there were more units for the Sisters of Silence and more mechanics. But the God, what did I want to say? Oh yeah, you know what the majority faction is that women that play Warhammer or paint Warhammer actually buy? Tyranids. Fucking Tyranids.
Seconded by orcs.
By what?
Second only to the orcs.
They buy more orcs than they buy Tyranids?
Oh, fuck. My fuck up. I mean, orcs are second to the Tyrannid.
Ah, well, they're big beefy boys who are also a bit monstrous. Of course women are into that.
All right. Here's Adolf Klitter. Thank you, sir, for the one. You're a bunch of virgin misogynists, squealed the man who sounds like he's only ever touched a woman after slipping her a Mickey. Remember, fellas, male feminists are always rapists with no exception. Never take their accusations of misogyny seriously. I don't know.
Projection.
I don't know what's going on with this video yet. He seems to be trying to make a joke.
We've seen this for 10 years now. You can God, what's the English expression?
You can make a bingo card out of this shit.
You can set your clock to it.
I would rather err on the side of ignorance because 40k is just as big as D&D. There's all these books.
We have seen it over and over again. Anytime any of these people complain about misogyny and rape and pedophilia in anime, it turns out they're the rapists, they're the misogynists, they're the pedophiles. Every single time.
My argument is that he's a PDF because he called 40k for 41st millennium the 40th millennium.
Okay.
Well, because he can't do math.
Anyway, let's not jump to conclusions. Let's keep going.
And opposite to the Gamergaters, we have an increasing number of voices saying that Warhammer 40k is starting to become problematic by turning from a satire of fascism.
The critics are saying it's becoming problematic. That's the word that socialists use. You are stirring up controversy where there isn't any.
No. He thinks that 40K was originally meant as a satire, and now it is changing into glorification of fascism. That is
Rogue Trader
making.
was satire because it was just derping around and had everything in it. And 40K was then trying to grow up into something more serious.
Yeah, I think that was
regardless of some of the punny. How do you make an adverb of the adjective of that?
That was the one game that Owlcat Games decided to make a turn-based RPG out of.
No. Smart. We're talking about Rogue Trader, the original 1986 release of Warhammer. Rogue Trader, the game that Owlcat based it off of, is a name or a game title of this. It's a game of the same title as the original release of Warhammer, based on the actual Rogue Traders of the setting.
The setting, okay.
Yeah, which is made by Fantasy Flight Games, made a tabletop game, based on the idea of being a rogue trader, the guys that go around trading stuff. They made it, then Owlcat came and made a game based on that system. Really confusing, I know. Games Workshop keeps reusing their fucking names because they're talentless hacks, have been for like 40 years, and basically riding off the coattails of three cool dudes like Blanchy and Andy Chambers.
Pretty much what Wizards of the Coast is doing with D&D now.
I wouldn't even give them that much credit, honestly. If you ever looked at D&D art and compared it to what was coming out of 40K around the same time, I would say they're incomparable.
The entire lore of D&D 4 was Earthdawn, because they had just gotten the license and just took all the lore from Earthdawn and crammed it into D&D.
Okay.
Only a few people will understand what I'm talking about, because Earthdawn was a rather obscure thing. It was a fantasy predecessor to Shadowrun. Because technically those are supposed to be in the same world.
All right.
Of it, especially with the latest Space Marine 2 this by accusing such critics of overreaction. It's just a game, you're taking it way too seriously, nobody wants to be a literal space Nazi, you guys need to chill the fuck out, they say. So what's going on here? Do Gamergaters have a point? Is Warhammer turning woke? Or are the critics correct here, and Warhammer is indeed turning into a celebration of fascism?
Wait a second, those aren't the two possible outcomes. What are you talking
Yes.
Yes.
He immediately isolated it to people critical of Gamergaters, the people that are sexist, racist, homophobic, Islamophobic.
Oh, you mean
like
the people who wanted ethics in games journalism?
Yes, absolute scum.
Because one absolutely talentless, fraudulent hack shagged five guys who were games journalists who wrote their nice reviews and shilled her excuse of a game.
Yeah.
Yes.
He needs to make this disingenuous, you could say, framing, because in any other way this point just falls apart immediately.
Mm-hmm.
He frames it like it's just a battle between the races and the people who are anti-racist. It's like the fucking Antifa versus KKK meme, where they're going, "Oh, you fence-sitters. Don't you understand you're on the wrong side of history when you could choose either those that fight alongside the rebels versus those that serve the Empire?"
Well, he has to frame it that way, because in their minds you can only be with them or against them. If you're not with them, you're against them, which, by the way, is actual fascist mindset.
The simplest answer I could think of is a bunch of writers did some bad ideas, or they hired new guys and didn't know what they were doing. I think there's so many obvious answers to why did things change and what's the real outcome. So this is not a big deal. And why is he labeling it like, well, it must be one or the other? It can't be.
Wait until you hear what his working definition of fascism is.
Well, that's why I said that they always have to paint it in this us or them, and you either, if you're not with us, you are with the others. And that thing that started Gamergate, all those people involved the crappy developer, or pseudo-developer, and those games journalists, in quotation marks, and all these other people they colluded with and organized with, they were the SJWs. They were the socialist activists. They were the hacks that didn't give a shit about actual video games. That was the ideologues. This ideology is run by, made up, and protected by, and shielded by, to this day, the most corrupt people on the planet. And it is the most corrupt ideology on the planet. That just seeks to corrupt everything. These people talking about virtue is the biggest joke that has ever been told.
Okay.
Anything they claim to fight, they are guilty of
We're
themselves.
2 minutes in from a 22-minute video. It's going to take some time. Okay.
We need to talk about Starship Troopers.
Can
The
we
subject-
skip
What?
this?
Starship
Can we skip
Troopers?
this section?
No, we need to hear. We need to hear why the Space Marine is a glorification of fascism. You cannot talk about fascism without Starship Troopers.
It's going to be 7 minutes of him taking the author's word and
Yes.
going, yes, you
Yes.
are wrong because they are wearing smart outfits. Therefore,
No.
fascist.
He is going to be taking the authors of the movie word as a gospel.
Absolutely.
Neither the movie nor the book contains fascism.
Yes.
Neither. Because Paul Verhoeven is an accidental genius who makes absolutely amazing movies that do the opposite of what he wants to tell with them.
I think what he ends up doing is he likes making movies and he has fun and he wants to make a fun movie regardless of the content. So he's like,
No, smart. He says, Verhoeven said what he wanted to make.
I know, but
Starship Troopers was to be a satire of fascism.
Whatever-
RoboCop was supposed to be a critique of Hollywood violence
Wisp,
and
stop hitting your
police
desk.
violence.
But regardless, he ends up making fun movies that, he's either not intelligent enough to pull that off, and he just does what he can, which makes sense to me that
He's an idiot genius.
or something like that. Okay.
Of much online discussion as of late. Now, please hold that thought for a moment and let me pay some bills. You might have noticed that the
What?
world is kind of going insane at the moment.
What?
With Trump
Oh yeah,
nominating a
this is
pro-Putin
the
rifter as the
suicide
director of
note,
US
by the way.
National
It's like the
Intelligence
suicide
and the
ad.
vaccine denier as Secretary of Health. The political scene could not be more tense and uncertain. And
What the hell? You know the
Wait
last
for
one
it.
where Biden put up cross-dressers and kleptomaniac cross-dressers as his staff. It's the most insane counterproductive thing ever. As if the left ever puts up competent people onto their positions.
So
Like those massively obese health ministers. What the left is putting up in Germany. People with actual brain damage who cannot formulate words and sentences. I'm not kidding you.
okay, well,
Listen, Lala is correct. Wait until you hear the sponsor's name.
okay.
this brings with it a steady growth of politically motivated online harassment, among others. Keeping your personal data to yourself is more important than ever. And Delete Me, the sponsor of today's video, is specializing in just that.
Yes, please.
Delete me.
Yes.
Sponsored by Canadian Healthcare.
I made some tweets in 2015. I have to make sure they're gone. Can you please hire a software developer to make sure?
That's why it's so hard to believe that the left is real, because it's just the jokes.
Yeah,
right-
it's like I want to be like Hillary
Write
Clinton.
themselves.
I don't have a hammer and like 20 Blackberries. Let me just hire someone to do that for
My
me.
God.
Once removed, they'll scan hundreds of data broker websites and request the removal of sensitive data about you, helping you reduce your digital footprint. In a week, they'll send you a privacy report where they will list out what sort of data they found and got removed. Delete Me will rescan those websites.
How are they going to remove it if they don't have access to those accounts? Like you'd have to give them your passwords and stuff. That doesn't make any
You
sense.
know, that to me, that sounds like a scam where you give them permission to look through the net for all your data and they bring it all together and then they sell it to somebody.
It's one thing for them to find it. It's another thing for them to actually go in and change things. That doesn't that would require security.
No.
clearance.
What they would do is to tell those companies, you have to delete the thing because the legal thing, and then
You
believe that
you-
they do it.
Yeah, you're paying you're paying a company to go up to other companies and go, please delete this thing. Not deleting it by hand, mind, just walking up to the door, knocking on it, and saying, please delete this. And when the company inevitably claims that they do so, they'll just keep a backup of the data they deleted, or claims to have deleted.
Okay. It's a very sketchy sounding organization.
So it is. So technically, companies are obligated to delete what data they have about you when you request that, which is a big chore for which such a service would be helpful, but I don't believe that they actually do that.
All right.
Not for a fucking second.
Sites make sure your data doesn't surface somewhere else. You can't always control whether you become a target through your personal data, whether for theft, harassment, or worse. But you can definitely make it much harder.
You cannot control whether you get caught for harassing people.
I want to know how they have access to your bank or a bank where you make loans. That would be very protected. How would that even... How do they have access to employment registration?
You would have to give them all of this information so they could scan through all of it. Does this sound suspicious to anyone?
Like government records? Like, oh, can I have access to your government accounts of like your business numbers?
Can I have your personal ID, please?
Yeah, this is crazy.
I would not trust a socialist
by
with
taking
any
a proactive
data ever.
approach to the
They don't
protection
have a
and
good
removal
track
of your
record.
personal data. And the easiest way to do that is with Delete Me. Get 20% off Delete Me consumer plans by going to joindeleteme.com/adam20 and use the
I mean, Stalin knew how to delete data about people.
Like you would have to get access to every government, every jurisdiction of that government or of that country, and then whatever they would consider to be privileged information. So like your passport, your business ID, your citizenship ID, like all this stuff per country. Like that's a lot. Or maybe it's just limited to the States. I don't know, but that sounds like a very high degree of clearance.
We know that YouTube completely doesn't give a shit what kind of ads you run, whether it's gambling, whether it's self-made psychology, which is always by people that claim to be psychologists, by actually just bankrolling their own paychecks by filling your head full of bullshit and gaslighting the shit out of you. Like that one note where the self-help psychological...
BetterHelp?
BetterHelp, thank you.
Yeah. There are people still shilling for that.
Yep. Because they pay good money. Like $30,000 or $40,000 per ad.
Which is especially funny on channels that then want to uncover scams, and then they shill for BetterHelp, which is super hilarious.
Yeah, so I would never, ever trust any company that says, oh, we can help you clear your data. Just give us your data.
Okay.
Think about that. Jesus. These people are absolute scum.
That's joindeleteme.com/adam20 promo.
And they want to tell us about fucking morals in video games.
Oh, which reminds me, remember the DNA scam? Where companies like 23 and Me or whatever they're called, they take your DNA and the results they send you back of what you actually made up of, they just make up.
What was it that about the lizard?
I don't remember the lizard, but there were admissions that they just add random amounts of African in there to mess with people.
Someone gave lizard blood to...
The joke with the lizard was that the lizard was partially Ashkenazi Jewish.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm not surprised about that at all.
Starship Troopers is in many ways the predecessor of Warhammer, being one of the trailblazers of hard science fiction. Its setting is also similar to Warhammer's.
The book, not the movie.
Yeah.
We have a sort of centralized, militaristic human empire called the Terran Federation, battling it out with various alien species, including
Oh
giant
my
space
god, you absolute dipshit!
Yes.
The Imperium is not centralized! It can't be! Physics cannot allow it to be centralized! By its very nature, it's a feudalistic state at best!
Doesn't have the technology.
So, Jesus Christ, I can't imagine if you're actually watching a stream like this that you don't already know this by, at the back of your own hand. But
he gets away with it because he talks to his leftist idiots who don't know anything about Warhammer.
Listen, Wisp, I'm not talking about people that watch him. Like, people that watch him are never going to watch us. Okay? That's just not going to happen. There's too much difference between the style concept. But the point is, to anyone who would have it to not know, the Imperium is so fucking big, they have to break holes in reality, go through hell, and maybe appear where they want to go, or at least somewhere within like 2 years' time of travel at full thrust in that
send
direction.
A letter.
That's
to send a letter.
To send a personal message.
If you so you could play chess by mail. I don't know if you have a name for that in English. Where you send somebody the next move, which is basically how the military is
right.
as well organized in 40K. They don't know where the hell everyone else is.
The entire way that 40K is built up is progressive aggression. Anytime a planet is hurt, if it keeps being hurt for long enough, it will send out a signal that will then be sent out to further people, and then further and further and further. And at that point, like 5 years after the original message is sent, maybe somebody will respond with an army. If the threat is like an actual thing.
That would be quick, depending on the distance.
That's why I said an army and not a crusade. Because if you're getting hit by the Tyranids, good fucking luck winning against the Tyranids with an army of a couple of recruits. But point is,
depending on where you are, if you're lucky, you get a reply within a generation.
Right. The Federation, as it is portrayed both in the movie and in the book, is too small to be compared to the Imperium in how it operates. The Federation has centralized government. It has people that need to be responsible for their actions, and when they fuck up, their heads will roll, metaphorically. And somebody else will take their place. In 40K, when some of the centralized governments fuck up, that is a clerk sitting in a corner, in a little box, like he's working in the top of a tower in the US, New York, and he just gets one number wrong from the camcorder, telling him exactly what kind of numbers he needs to punch into the machine to make it say beep with a green light. He pushes one wrong word, one wrong letter, and that box of important ammunition, or those troop transports, are going from the war zone they need to be in to some orc shithole. That is literally the plot of 15 Hours, where a couple of recruits get brought in on transports, like 200 or 300 guys. One of the clerks that has to organize, quote unquote organize, because he's just being told where they need to go, pushes in one wrong number because he wanted to imagine what it feel like bludgeoning the guy on the other end with a brick to get some form of stimulation in his fucking life. Wrong. And the guys end up going from a city fight into the middle of World War I with orcs. They all die, by the way, on the first day.
Basic question. Can a federation even be fascist?
It can have fascist tactics, but by definition, I suppose not.
Depends on the flavor of fascism and what it's trying to do. So,
fascism is everybody has to be on board, nobody's allowed to step out of line. A federation, by its very definition, is comprised of individual parts working together. Where one could drop out.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you're working off of the Mussolini definition of fascism?
It depends on the ownership of the
one.
land. So if you have land in one area, is that owned by the same federation in the land in another planet or another location? So is it owned by individuals? How does the state control it? How does the state give out jobs? There's all these levels to it. So there are flavors to it. And this is the problem with whenever you bring up the fascist word, or the F word, as I like to say, it's such a big loaded word that you have to define what you're saying before you use it. And because he's just saying, well, I'm just pointing and saying that's fascist without actually describing what it is, I'm lost. So
if he opened his statement with everything within the state, nothing without the state, everyone
Yes.
would be like, okay, I get it. You're talking about like legitimate fascism by the book. Okay, we can now like understand what the fuck he's talking about on the same wavelength.
Yes, but the left never gives you a definition of fascism, because if they gave you that, everybody would realize, oh, well, isn't that all socialism? Isn't that what the Soviet Union was? Isn't that what Maoist China is? Isn't that East Germany? Isn't that North Korea? Isn't that all of these bloody things? Isn't that Cuba? Isn't that Venezuela? It's all fascism, all the socialism. That's why they can't ever give you a definition, and that's why all attempts by leftists like Paulo Coelho's is a definition of fascism doesn't work and bites itself in its ass.
Well, that, and you also have the whole thing of not using a set in stone definition. Is a very definition of a power move. You can make whatever point you want about somebody being fascist if they don't know and you don't want to agree on what fascism is.
Because that makes it
people walking around in smart costumes in Starship Troopers the movie makes the Federation fascist. How is fashion like fascist? Well, it looks like the soldiers from World War II.
Holder, and that's the entire trick is to just use this empty word, this husk, as a bad guy word, because then we can't possibly be it, because we call the others that, and they're the bad guys, and it's a husk, just like Nazi is, which has lost all meaning as an insult or as an accusation, just like Gamergate is.
All right, let's keep going.
Starship Troopers grew out of an original niche. It was a tabletop game. With Starship Troopers, it was a book which later got adapted into series, movies and games, making the IP transition from niche to the relative mainstream. Now tabletop Warhammer is very different from video game Warhammer, Space Marine to...
I despise the idea of calling Starship Troopers an IP.
I mean, it is by definition. I don't know why you...
but I just don't like the term. It sounds like this corporate thing that exists in order to be milked into money.
That is what it is legally. Shall we continue?
Yes.
Space Marine in particular, and in the same way there is a big difference between Starship Troopers the book and Starship Troopers the movie, the 1997 movie, which was at the center of that god-awful
does know the
discourse.
difference.
The Starship Troopers book is rather jingoistic. Some people called it fascist literature, but I don't really agree with that label.
Really? I'm surprised.
Okay, now we're getting interesting.
That's interesting. I did not expect a commie to say that, to admit that. Because the reason it's called, the left calls it fascist, is because, as I've said on previous streams, there are 2 paragraphs in it that take apart Marx's theory from his 3 volumes of Das Kapital within a bloody paragraph with a cooking analogy.
If you do go to the Wikipedia, I think there's a quote by some critic or whatever journalist at the time who called it jingoistic. So he might have just surfaced that and just pulled that up. I don't know. So,
that jingoism is also not correctly applied there.
It's a quick way of describing it, I would say.
Obsessed with toughness and masculinity, heroism and honor, but it's otherwise not covert fascist propaganda or anything. It was written by a former soldier at the height of the Red Scare and McCarthyism in the 1950s. So as far as I can see, Starship Troopers is really a product
McCarthy
of its
was
time.
right.
It's still very right-wing, idolizes the military. In fact, in that world, the only way to gain full rights as a citizen is through military service and so on. But is it fascist?
And what are the full rights he's talking about? The right to vote, which is the only one that is the
right of the franchise.
Well,
Yeah.
the idea behind voting...
That is the only difference.
The idea behind voting was to go to war, and it was always by men, because men did not want women to vote, because then they would have to go to war. And that was the whole basis of voting. So I don't know what exactly...
Quite the opposite, actually. The issue was, through the sands of time till now, women voting is a terrible idea. Because you're basically having both populations now having to fight over who gets favored in the political game. And only one of those genders have to suffer the real consequences of going to war. Not suffering the consequences of war, going to war.
That's why the suffragists opposed the suffragettes. The suffragists believe that, if we actually get the right to vote, then we would also have to go to war and have to serve. So we don't want that. So the right to vote is not important enough. We already have sway enough over our husbands because we control the politics in the home. The suffragettes mainly were crazy cat ladies with borderline personality disorder who nobody liked.
Well, this is in relation to conscription, that the men voted on that. So if the men said they wanted to go to war, it was the men voting for it, not anyone else at the time. I'm sure that changed after the 19th century. So,
well, there is an extra tidbit that one of the arguments of the suffragettes was that the African men are already vote, the black men are getting the vote, but we still don't, because there were black men serving in the British Army. So they get the right to vote. It's very funny. The never talks about these racist arguments.
1950 and jingoistic. Imagine a sci-fi universe created by an ex-military boomer who has a Clint Eastwood profile picture on Facebook and who can't shut up about how back in his day everyone worked 26-hour workdays 10 days a week and no one complained, as opposed to the weak and entitled generation today. Military service should be compulsory to teach these soy latte drinking weaklings some discipline. But in person the guy is nice to you and always offers you beer when you come over. That's the authorial context of the Starship Troopers book basically. Now keep in mind, while the book itself isn't fascistic, the Terran Federation in it kind of is. And the values
Oh my god!
1997 Starship Troopers.
So is it or is it not?
yeah, the book isn't, but the characters in it are. It's like, what is it? What are you talking about?
Oh,
Okay,
he's gonna
and
talk
so-
about the numbers game, I'm guessing. He's gonna talk about
One-
the scene from the movie.
Yeah, one big thing that also Arch, I think, touched on was, how is it that you have a fascistic, government, but the only people that go to war are people who go voluntarily. You have no conscription.
Mm-hmm.
So where's the fascism? Show me.
The military doesn't want you to join it because it doesn't want the flimsy, weak people.
Yeah, I'm not sure if voluntary service to military is fascistic.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that as a property of. I'd have to go back to Giovanni Gentile.
And the one important thing is in Starship Troopers, you only get to exercise your right to vote after your service, not during it. So if you are lifelong in the military, if you're a general, you never once voted on anything. Because while you're in the military, well, you're biased. You would probably vote against going to any war.
Yeah, it's
Because you don't want to send your boys there, which is the whole point, that when you come out of it, you will have the wisdom and experience that war is crap. Let's not send our boys there if we don't need to.
Yeah, like if you want to say a fascist state is where the military or the government or the authority of the state is almost everywhere, that would be a pretty simple thing to say, but it doesn't quite fit into everything else that works with Nazism or Italian fascism or Imperial Japanese fascism. So you have to be very specific what you're talking about. And him keep using the word is always like, okay, where are we going with this? Is it because they have really cool hats? Like what makes them fascist? Because all you're doing is showing me a movie which is for fun, as opposed to a book which was about fighting giant monsters from destroying humanity. So this is the same issue with 40K. Is everyone in there are different shades of black. There is no good guys, and you can call that fascism. You can call that imperialism. You can call that nationalism. There's all these terms you can use. But what exactly are you saying? Because they're all fantasy violence that has to adapt to a forever war of various fronts across the galaxies.
Yeah, and what we currently have, in reality, is a system in which childless cat ladies who have never been in a serious situation, who have never served, want to send other people to die for them so that they can have it cozy at home.
Fun fact, in the Krieg book that I mentioned earlier, one of the main things that the colonel has to deal with, or the captain at the time, has to deal with when he comes back home and the governor of the planet declares independence from the Imperium, is that all the nobles, many of them women, mind, just want to make appeasement to him. You know, find a peaceful way to avoid losing all this nice stuff they have. Because if they lose all the nice gold they have in their mansions, then wouldn't that be bad for them? Like, think of the economy. If you went to war with the guy that's declaring that, well, they don't or the Imperium doesn't deserve them, they should leave. Usually how a chaos cult starts an uprising, by the way.
All right, let's keep going.
1997 Starship Troopers movie.
Also, why are you playing Glory to Asuska, a communist nation?
Because deep down, he knows that
the
communism
director, Paul
is fascism.
Verhoeven, grew up during the Nazi occupation of the Netherlands and didn't really like fascist, hyper-militaristic ideologies for obvious reasons. So he proceeded to subvert our expectations. Not with medieval anti-air railguns firing tungsten rounds at Mach 5, but by turning the Terran Federation, the Starship Troopers, into a satire of jingoism and fascism. While the book depicts the Terran Federation's campaign against the bugs as a heroic struggle, the movie portrays it as a hopeless war started on false
pretenses. The guy went on.
Yes. Wait a second. Let's play a little bit more, because he is going to show you why the thing that is explicitly told you that happened could not have happened.
In the movie and the book. Because like the movie could have simply invented another situation, another how it came to be. It didn't. It took the exact situation of the book, where a bunch of religious idiots went beyond the demarcation line that was considered safe by the Federation and settled in unsafe territory, and that led to the whole problem. It wasn't the Federation doing that. It was because there were people who took their freedom and liberty to not do as they were told.
Yes, but what he's going to tell you is that the thing that the bugs did after that could not have happened. So let's play it a little bit.
All right.
Before we do, I just gotta say, the most fascist aspect of Starship Troopers is that Mormons are still a thing. That's honestly oppressing the entirety of mankind.
All right.
of propaganda-addled macho idiots marching into certain death, where instead of heroic acts, glorious sacrifices, and cinematic last stands, you just get torn apart by giant bugs. I mean, the whole reason for the war is that supposedly bugs pulled the Javier Milei and destroyed Buenos Aires by launching an asteroid from a different solar system towards Earth. If anyone is getting Iraq War, Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction vibes, yeah, you should.
Wait.
That actually happened.
Wait.
Play like 5 more seconds.
Okay.
The bug's home system is tens of thousands of light years away. Even if they somehow managed to precisely hit Earth from such a distance, the asteroid would have taken millions of years to get there. So no, the bugs could...
No, that's you had cannoning stuff.
Yes, because if this could not have happened, then how could they have attacked us?
The Federation did 9/11!
Yes.
How did the Federation and how does the Federation get around from system to system? The technology level for hyperspace, for any interstellar travel, is not explained.
So
Yes.
So he thinks 9/11 was an inside job. Is that his claim?
Yes. Basically. This is basically the argument he's making.
This guy calls us conspiracy theorists.
Yes, because he's completely disregarding the fact that there must be some sort of interplanetary transport method.
Yeah, I mean the bugs get around.
Yes,
they don't have that one planet. They don't just have that one planet.
Mm-hmm.
The Federation doesn't just have that one planet. There are other alien civilizations that have several planets that only appear in the book.
Okay, this is not where I thought this video would go. Okay.
The whole asteroid business also begs the question, if the bugs can pull that off, why don't they keep doing it once humans attack them? Because it's all bullshit.
No, it's a story, you retard. What do you think? Why would they keep doing the same thing over and over again? Then
You know what you would do as humanity? Oh, they were throwing asteroids. Let's get better tech and track all the asteroids.
The thing about this whole stuff with the asteroid apparently is that at the first time they were trying to actually shoot the center of the military operations, like the Geneva or somewhere. I don't know where it is in the Starship Troopers, but it was at some point intercepted, and that's why the asteroid hit Buenos Aires. And they didn't continue with the bombardment because humans were ready and could shoot down the stuff.
Which is also stated in the fucking movie that they armed themselves to defend against asteroids and show you blowing up a fucking asteroid they sent attempting to blow up the Earth.
Yes.
But since he's just discarded what the movie is telling you, and there's no other evidence to suggest that it isn't, like, he just says, oh, because it's stylized as a military propaganda campaign, that means it can't be real.
Yeah.
This is like
I mean, if since 9/11 happened, why hadn't Al Qaeda been hitting the United States over and over again every day?
It's like, okay, this very impossible to believe weapon attack from half a galaxy away or whatever is so unbelievable. Therefore, it must be by the humans that attack themselves to cause whatever arms race. You're like, okay, was that ever a mystery in the novel? Was that ever a secret plot that came about? It's like, no. It was always just the bugs did it. And that was that. And that was fine.
Explain Building 7 to me.
We don't need anything else in this plot for the motivation of humans to fight back against the aliens. It's a very simple setup. We've seen this dozens of times. I can remember Enterprise did this even in their storyline. It's so simple. We don't need the technical details and all the answers. This is silly.
The asteroid was an accident at best and a false flag operation at worst.
A false flag? Where is that in the book?
Nowhere. Federation, how fucking dare you accidentally nuke Buenos Aires? How do you plead?
What?
Oh my god.
You just
Why is he doing this, though? This has nothing to do with Warhammer. He's just bringing up some other topic and speculating that, I don't believe it.
Yes,
because all the conspiracies are true when fascists do them.
Remember, Smut, he said that to understand 40K, you have to understand that it was inspired by the movie that came out a decade after 40K had already gained its own identity by second edition.
But this is so obscure to have a second piece of media say we have to appreciate and understand this piece of media, but then he's challenging that media saying, well, I don't quite understand this part, therefore it's a bad piece of media or whatever. You're like, okay, so you're saying 40K is also a bad piece of media and is flawed because of its inconsistency with space travel? Like, where is he going with this?
Also, Smart, pull a little bit away from your mic. You're buzzing a bit.
Oh yeah, too loud.
Just a little bit of noise from hitting the mic too close. But yeah, I absolutely agree. This is fucking ridiculous and a waste of time.
The warp storms are an inside job.
All right, keep going.
That got blamed on the bugs to keep the war machine and thus the military-industrial complex occupied. In the end, however, all humans accomplish is getting a bunch of soldiers murdered. By the end of the movie, we see literal child soldiers deployed as the Terran Federation is running out of regular troops. And it's not like the bugs are a threat to humanity. They aren't like the Tyranids, actively trying to eat humanity. The bugs are on the other side of the galaxy and generally don't bother you unless you...
I find it aggravating that he has the fucking balls to keep making a joke that the Tyranids are actually Zerg, when it was the Zerg that were based off the Tyranids.
Mm-hmm.
Blatantly so. And Dunn worries, by the way, since the Zerg can be beaten by taking away a white woman.
Oh god.
That's a plot point.
which
One of the
humans
main
did by
characters in
settling on the
the
Bugs' home planet.
StarCraft 2 campaign wants to fuck the white woman, so he drags her out of the hive mind, and the moment the white woman is gone, the hive mind just collapses despite having their own heroes.
Yeah. But this is I need to hear this because he's just completely gaslighting about the story.
Bother you unless you bother them first, which humans did by settling on the Bugs' home planet. During
Yes, but it wasn't the Federation. It was Mormons who didn't listen. The Federation said that area is not safe. We haven't secured it. Don't go there. And the Mormons said, no, we're going to do it anyway. And then they got murdered by the Bugs. And the Bugs are collectivists, like you communists, who don't make a difference. They project and they think all humans they must also be a hive mind. So there's no difference between the Mormon idiots and Earth and all the other humans and all the military. It's all the same, just like the Bugs, because they project. Just like you. Because he collectivizes everyone.
Starship Troopers movie, the soldiers capture a brain bug, the bug's equivalent of a command and control vehicle, basically. In this scene, Neil Patrick Harris reads the brain bug's emotions and loudly proclaims it's a
Not just that, probably rather it's one individual, actual individual of the Bugs, while the workers are not really individuals, they're just like psychic arms that have manifest as biological entities. But that's too high for him.
A lot of people reference this scene as being some ridiculous parody of fascism. Like, oh look, the Buck is afraid. What's that supposed to mean? And it's like, motherfucker, did you even watch the movie? Not a large, but a subplot in the movie that they even have a sketch about with the SJW guy that's like, I find the idea of an intelligent Buck offensive. They have to convince the Federation and the wider people that the Bucks aren't stupid. They're smart, they're intelligent, they can organize, they can understand humans. They are malevolent.
Yes.
Yeah. In the book, the brain bugs are actually pretty small, and they try to extract one, which is the whole operation works completely different. And the problem with the brain bugs there is that they always die in captivity. There's also that the bugs actually kept prisoners of the humans alive because they were also trying to find out how the humans actually worked. They weren't killing all their prisoners. So the movie that Verhoeven made is actually more brutal and depicts the bugs as worse than the book did.
All right, we're 7 minutes in. This is getting really long.
Beautiful.
We still got an hour to go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
afraid to the soldiers around him, after which everyone erupts in cheers and the whole scene is played off seemingly as the glorious ending of a righteous military campaign. Except it's not, and the movie goes to great lengths showing you why in the 2 hours preceding this scene. First off, as I've said, it was the humans who attacked first.
Based on your fanfiction.
Bugs did not start this conflict. They were attacked based on false pretenses, and they decimated the humans for...
Wait, what is an attack in your mind? What constitutes an attack?
The Mormons colonized.
Putting up a colony in a place they don't know there's another species already there? Is that an attack?
Well, they knew the bugs were there. That's why they set up the perimeter to say, no, this is a dangerous area. The report even says, yeah, the bugs are here, don't go here. And they went anyways, because they didn't assume the bugs were intelligent.
Tell me about the mass migration currently happening in the Western world right now that is done by very violent people who set up colonies. Are we just justified to enact murderous mass violence and murder against them because, well, they're settling on our shores?
The humans being if the literal child soldiers by the end aren't indication enough, I don't know what to tell you. Hundreds of thousands of human deaths for no reason. That end scene with the brain bug is based.
And the funny thing about this is also something that was brought up, is that he is going hundreds of thousands of humans. Like, dude, that is something that happens between nations on Earth and not the entire planets. Those are not big numbers.
The populations in Starship Troopers are a bit bigger, and The whole problem is, and the difference is that every human, basically to justify any one human that is lost is the equivalent of 10,000 bug warriors. Those numbers don't add up right, because the bugs, they can just crap out more warriors because they're mindless drones. They're actual mindless drones. While any human individual takes forever to train, it has to grow up for more than a decade to begin with. And you have to outfit that individual. If that individual even makes it through training, those are completely different scopes that I don't even know how to put into words, and that better comes out in the book for sure.
Yeah, the numbers in the Ukraine war are, I think, 100K each side, so it's nothing unheard of. So
we've surpassed 1 million military casualties in the Ukraine war alone.
Oh, really? Jeez, is that high?
Yeah, we're currently looking at, I think it's last number I saw, and again, these could be fucking bogus, but the last numbers I saw was 300,000 to Ukrainians, 700,000 to Russians.
Okay.
And again, that's not counting civilian casualties, which are also fucking immense. We'll only know once the actual war is complete.
Civilian casualties are always way outnumber the military casualties.
Yes.
Basically one massive cope by the Terran Federation. The director even added a nice little touch. When the bug starts jittering out of fear, the soldiers quickly back away from it. This is not a victory. You captured what is basically a single command and control vehicle at the end of your campaign that cost the lives of hundreds of thousands of soldiers. It's like when the other Federation, the Russian one, exhibits a captured Abrams on Red Square. Yeah, you got...
He is the one who likens the bug, the bug that is an actual individual, to a vehicle. He reduces it to an object. This is disgusting. He is way more fascist, if you will, racist than the people he accuses.
Just wait
Beyond
until
belief.
Just wait
It's a
until
commander
you see.
they captured.
Just wait until you see what this whole tangent was about in relation to 40K.
Yeah, the compare.
Does he call the bug a vehicle because it's so big?
Well, comparing an Abrams tank to that scene is so stupid. It's just so silly to talk about the Ukraine war that way.
This would be the equivalent.
His idea is that the part of the hive mind that that was captured, the brain bug, is just one common thing that is a little bit more special when it's actually a relatively big deal. But yeah.
This would be the equivalent of comparing this Abrams showcase at the Red Square to capturing the Star Marshal herself and going, "Oh, this is just as pathetic as rolling out the Abrams you captured."
Yeah, because we don't know anything above the brain bug. We never get to that point, not in the book either. And the movie, which is really strange, because Verhoeven could have capitalized on that. The movie completely leaves out the worker bugs, which don't attack anyone ever. They just try to run away because they can't do anything. Those are the ones building the tunnels.
All right.
Congrats, but you also lost more than 8 equipment in Ukraine, and it's just the visually confirmed losses, not to mention your casualties. Anyway, the Starship Troopers movie is very clear about it being a satire. The discourse that erupted around it, however, was truly mind-boggling. On one side, you had people with the reasonable take. Everything that happened to humans is basically their fault, the war with the bugs was completely unnecessary, and the Terran Federation is a crazy, jingoistic fascist empire. I mean...
So the people that didn't watch the movie, they just imagined whatever they wanted to. Nothing in the movie they can cite actually tells the story that they're describing here, unless you just disregard the information provided to you by the movie and insert your own fan fiction, as he did with The Rock.
So 2 things. 1, he probably never seen the movie. 2, this whole tangent was an extrapolation of what you see on the screen. And yes, it took him about 6 minutes to go through that.
All right.
The director put Neil Patrick Harris in a literal SS uniform. The message is very clear. Also, the brain bug scene is followed up by a propaganda video in which people gleefully tortured the brain bug, so there's that too. But some disagreed with this assessment.
In the very scene where the brain bug is captured, the brain bug tortures a dude and then sucks out his fucking brain. They're doing exactly to it what it did to that trooper.
Yeah, that thing is not innocent.
But again, it's innocent if you don't consider it like an actual living, thinking being and compare it to an Abrams tank. It's just an object to be filed around. It's not an actual thinking thing, despite the movie going out of its way to show that it shows interest in torturing people.
A lot of people legitimately did not understand how anyone could take the side of the bugs, empathize with the bugs even, when all the Terran Federation characters are attractive and the bugs are disgusting. And I mean, that's the whole point. The way you instinctively feel about the bugs is how a white supremacist feels about blacks.
Oh my god!
Yes, he went there.
Oh my fucking
Wow.
god! You're not... Okay. So his opening statement about the humanity fighting orcs, Eldar, demons, and tyrannus is all to metaphorically state that it's a white supremacist power fantasy of fighting all the other races of the world that have vaguely cultural similarities. So the tyrannus are the Jews, the orcs are black people, the Eldars are the Asians, and the Tau are the Chinese. Okay.
Let's not talk about Islam wanting to eradicate all non-Arabs, especially the Jews. Let's not talk about China wanting to eradicate everyone who's not Han Chinese, especially the Arabs and black people, because they hate black people. They're putting up colonies in Africa right now where they're pushing out the black Africans that live there. The left never loses a single word about that. No, don't talk about it when socialists do exactly what he is complaining about here, because he can never admit that socialism is fascism.
It will never not be funny to me when the leftists take the completely jokes about the bugs and all of that and just run with them wholesale. That just it's always so funny.
I would like to note that according to the Horus Heresy and the lore of 40K, the Bible of 40K, the Emperor is Jewish.
What?
Oh dear. All right.
When did they add that?
Here's a donation from
He went to the Tower of Babel and destroyed it for being heresy.
Okay. Here's a donation from JS. Thank you, JS, for the very specific $1.27. Mom, libs are sympathizing with the bugs again. Yeah, well.
Fuck.
I'm not sure what this video is about anymore. He's just been jumping around by using a second reference and just messing that reference up. If he was clear, I'm going to reference this book about the Second World War, it's like, okay, great, go there. And this is what happened. You're like, great. Not, I question my second reference. It's like, wait a second, then why are you using it? You don't do that. When you have a reference as a clarity, as a form of comparison, you go look at the thing and look at the other thing. Not look at the thing and go, wait, well, this thing's not really very good as a reference. Let me twist a few things so that you can properly understand what I'm trying to say about that thing. Let's go back to you're just confusing the audience and trying to, and now he's inserting whatever this nonsense is.
And never forget, it was Chairman Mao who said, just before his great leap forward, that to not be a socialist is like not having a soul. Which means to not be a socialist is to not be human. Which means you don't get any rights.
Okay, well, this is the kind of guy we want to stop listening to as soon as you come across any of these realizations, but we can go halfway through before I begin to...
Let's go. 11 minutes, let's go.
We can do this.
Feels about Jews, revolting freaks to be crushed Incidentally, this is often
Jesus.
how Jews were depicted by Nazi propaganda. Disgusting insects to be purged from
Go
the face of
on.
Earth. The movie essentially
Go
challenges
on.
you to take the side of the group you were conditioned to hate. And oh boy, did many people fail this test. The discourse essentially became an indicator of who would fall for Nazi propaganda, where all the Aryan Germans are depicted as tall.
Are you serious? Are you?
Yes.
Is this
Yes,
guy?
he is dead serious.
If you
Yes.
enjoyed the movie, you're a Nazi sympathizer. That's what he's telling you.
Yes.
This is oh my god.
The moment he brought Starship Troopers, I knew this is where he's going. He's always comes up whenever it comes to the 40K comparisons. It's because they want to say that anyone that enjoyed Starship Troopers are people that failed the litmus test for being a Nazi. And you're not intentionally being a Nazi, you're just like Nazi propaganda.
Let's not look at Soviet propaganda, which looked exactly the same way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you want to talk about propaganda and people are influenced, I can totally understand where he's coming from. A lot of people are influenced by marketing. It's the same concepts, fine, the same techniques. But to say it the way he did it, I'm like, dude, no, that's wrong.
Let's move on. He's going to make the Warhammer point, I think,
Okay,
relatively soon. So
all right.
Right, the reason why everyone's
and all
here.
the supposed subhumans as revolting freaks. With that, Starship Troopers gave us a very important revelation about the importance of aesthetics. If an otherwise horrible faction is depicted as badass and handsome in an IP, some people will start idolizing them and co-opt their visuals, no matter how monstrous the faction is or how much satire you heap on. And this
Yeah, but if it's satire, it's a fun, jokey thing. That's the point of comedy. It's part of comedy. What is?
40K.
He admits it's satire. He knows it's satire, but you can't enjoy it because you'll be a Nazi sympathizer if you do. It's like, no, dude, you can't have it both ways. It either is comedy and is taken that way. It's a fun little romp of humanity versus environment or man versus alien or whatever. Or you're saying some other obscure nonsense that has nothing to do with the actual topic and making up that people who like it are Nazis.
There's enough people who like the orc aesthetic.
Yeah, there's nothing
Well,
wrong with liking
his-
40K. There's nothing. It doesn't imply you're a.
yeah, his entire point with this whole tangent was, if you paint the fascist faction as, you know, the pretty heroic guys,
Yeah.
then people will sympathize with them. Listen to what he says about
This
Warhammer.
is. I have a friend who did his thesis on ancient Rome. Like that wouldn't make him an ancient imperialist sympathizer. He just liked studying ancient Rome for whatever reason. There's lots of reasons why you study ancient Egypt or Rome or whatever.
Why would you
antiquity.
not be an ancient imperialist?
Like it's part of history. Like you don't like. Oh, I'm going to watch and read all this stuff about Nazis, and that makes me a sympathizer. It's like no, no, it
I
doesn't.
Why would you
Polish
not?
Lithuanian
Why would you not
Commonwealth
be a
from
Roman
that.
sympathizer? A genuine question. Why would you not sympathize with Rome?
The art, military rule,
The
money,
only
the roads.
the only reason
the aqueducts.
would be to be a tree hugger in Germany on the other side of the Limes.
Okay. All right. Anyway.
brings us to Warhammer 40K. Let's consider its opening paragraphs. It is the 41st millennium. For more than 100 centuries, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. He is the master of mankind by the will of the gods, and the master of a million worlds by the might of his inexhaustible armies. He is a rotting carcass, writhing invisibly with power from the dark age of technology. He is the carrion lord of the Imperium, for whom 1,000 souls are sacrificed every day so that he may never truly die. Vast armies give battle in his name on
I will give him credit. He's using the old, blurb at the start of every book. So, points for that. All the shit talked about you still stands, but I can give you that. You at least use the old one if you're going to talk about, 40K as origins is inspired by a movie that came out like a decade after this was written.
count all their multitudes, they are barely enough to hold off the ever-present threat from aliens, heretics, mutants, and worse. To be a man in such times is to be one amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. These are the tales of those times. Forget the power of technology and science, for so much has been forgotten, never to be relearned. Forget the promise of progress and understanding, for in the grim dark future there is only war. There is no peace among the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter, and the laughter of thirsting gods. The 40K universe is a rough place. It's basically war and suffering turned up to a ridiculous level, and it kinda works. Warhammer 40K manages to straddle the line between epic and silly, nailing the perfect ratio of the two. And this works really well for the board game. You both bring out your armies you spent 200 plus hours painting, one of you fields Chaos Marines, the other Astra Militarum, and you duke it out in this silly but epic setting, having lots of fun in the process. This over-the-top horrifying universe is a great niche for tabletop games played by nerds, including yours truly. But what if you want to make a universally appealing AAA video game? How do you implement this idea that everything in the grimdark future is horrible, the soldiers are brainwashed drones dying for nothing, and that the wars you fight are completely hopeless, and all of you are essentially doomed? How do you make an enjoyable AAA game around these ideas? Games Workshop thought long and hard, and decided that they'll just kind of forget about most of the grimdark stuff.
No, no. You don't have to take everything the 40K universe has to offer and shove into a single product. Ask any of the fucking writers of short stories in the 40K, like 41st Millennium. They will just tell you they pick whatever they find interesting that helps with the narrative. Not every single motherfucker that sits down and writes a 40K story is going to include the Astra Militarum, the Sisters of Battle, the Knights, the Chaos Marines, and the Orcs. Some of them just want to write Warhammer Crime. Some of them just want to write Warhammer Horror. Some of them just want to write about a guardsman being sent to the wrong fucking planet and getting shot in the head by an orc sniper.
Yeah, like
there are agrarian worlds that are relatively nice.
This is like saying, well, the D&D has hundreds and hundreds of books, but you're missing the 300 or so over here. It's like, yeah, you can't use all the lore. Obviously, you can only use what your narrative requires, like the Inquisitor video game on Warhammer. That's a very specific part of the lore of Warhammer. So it's like you don't have to mention all that other stuff if you don't need to. So I don't see what the issue is, especially when your lore is gigantic.
Man, I sure enjoy Warhammer Mechanicus, but I wish 85% of the game was spent on the reproductive cycles of the Tyranids. That's what we really needed to flesh out this setting. The grim, dark aspect of using your own children as ammunition.
Yeah, the only other major argument would be an adaptation would be how much do you actually use that's relevant, or how much do you change to make it specific to the genre, to the medium, so that the game plays as a game as you want it to play. So that would be a different argument, but that's also consideration. So is he literally saying it has to have everything grimdark? It's like, no, you shouldn't have to. It's just whatever is relevant to the story. I'm
betting you right now, the argument is going to be that there's a story about brotherhood, and that misses the point.
All right.
That's going to be my assumption.
There's a super chat from Frog Jupiter. Thank you, sir. That's the guy who thinks that there's no bias in academia and that the disproportionate amount of leftists in college is due to cons being dumb. Oh, wow. Oh, dear.
If ever the pendulum swings back in colleges and universities, he will then complain that the left is deliberately kept out.
Yeah, there's plenty of intelligent people that did not go into academia and they got trade jobs or they started their own business. So there's whatever you want to do.
Because they're pragmatic and not pseudo-intellectual hacks who have to give each other pointless degrees in order to feel nice about themselves, where these degrees don't mean anything anymore. Because they've lowered the bar of academia so much, it's a laughing stock.
Or they just become an engineer and whatever, and they start building things. So
socialists don't become engineers.
I didn't say that. I said people who actually
they would have to learn something about the objective world.
That'd be nice. All right, so we're at the halfway mark here. We could take a break for tomorrow, because that was a lot we just covered. It was rough. If you guys want to do this tomorrow, we can totally do it tomorrow. That's totally fine with me.
I got a World Darkness game, so you guys gonna have to take it from here without me.
And then just finish it up. It's just getting good.
You have to go, Lol, right now?
No, I said tomorrow I wouldn't be able to join because I got a World Darkness game to host.
All right. Let's keep going.
Games, while containing hints of the absurdity of the Imperium, are for the most part made to make the player feel like a cool, epic, badass war hero soldier mowing down thousands of enemies without breaking a sweat. And with that, Games Workshop has made the biggest mistake possible when it comes to depicting fascists. They made them appear cool and badass.
These guys, okay, just to not rant for the next 20 minutes and just let it play, because we're gonna be here for a while if I start ranting about this. They are warrior monks. They've been so since 3 months after the release of Rogue Trader, with Blanchet essentially pitching the idea that instead of them being Arbites, like your Judge Dredd style bullies, he said, what if they're warrior monks? And they're like independent warriors traveling around the galaxy, keeping law and order and stuff, and don't have to deal with all the Imperium shit for most of the time. That is what the Space Marines have been for damn near 40 years, starting in 2026.
Lala, you have to remember, 40K is a satire of fascism.
Yeah, but they
Well, that's
only
the thing. He
started that
didn't-
nonsense since the SJWs got into the company.
No.
No?
Do not give them that. Do not give them that fucking ground. Even now, with the corruption that is the 40K IP, the Space Marines are not fascists.
Yes.
The worst they get is the custodes exterminating a loyal chapter of Space Marine
Well,
that defied orders for a very good reason.
let's.
What I meant was this whole argument only started once the SJWs turned their eyes on Warhammer.
Well,
Nobody claimed that ever before.
first off,
Not inside the company, not outside the company.
there's nothing wrong with glorifying a villain in a story like this. Secondly, let's say he is right that they are glorifying fascism. In this world where everything's black, there's like worse things than fascism in the world, and humanity has to turn into fascist in order to survive. I'm not seeing a problem. We consider them heroes because they're human, but it doesn't mean we like them the most or we like them in general. We can because there's so much content. So I don't see the problem here. This is again the video games cause violence argument. Oh, you're playing violence, therefore you're going to do violence in real life. No, I can enjoy my Grand Theft Auto and paying $100 for sex and then killing my hooker and getting my money back. I can do that. That's fine. I'm not going to go out and do that in real life. So whatever he's saying about the fantasy world, oh, you can't glorify fascism. Yes, you can. And yes, you can enjoy it because we're mature adults. We know what we're doing.
Yeah. And he read the intro blip, and this is a galactic case of eat or be eaten.
The Imperium tried peace for 20,000 years. It didn't work.
Yeah, we could talk about adult men liking children's toys or children's games or children's stories. It's like, why would an adult male like My Little Pony? It's like, why not? Is he hurting anyone? Is he doing any... Maybe he's got a fetish. I don't know. But if he's not hurting anyone and he's in his own little world like most people are in their own books or in their own games or in their own stories, I'm not seeing the issue. I'm not seeing the morals that are being questioned. You could call it a gateway drug to other things that are worse. I don't know. But there's nothing wrong with any fan of any fandom enjoying the thing for what it's worth and enriching their lives and having a nice relaxing evening or whatever the thing. Maybe it's a horror story and they want to get scared. There's all kinds of wonderful stories in 40K that takes you to a place that you never ever want to go for obvious narrative reasons. So we could attack women loving thriller movies and stories or vampire stories or all these other silly things that are not
true crime,
are not inherently true crime's interesting, but that aren't inherently bad to read about or to
What about the fact that the most popular genre of all literature for women is just rape?
Good for them.
Across history, across time and space, the most popular type of literature is where women get raped.
When I read the
Can
manga,
we talk about that? Is that legal?
When I read the manga websites, there's a lot of yaoi, a lot of gay porn stuff, and I'm like, wow, there's so much. I had no idea it was so popular. Someone must be enjoying it. Someone must be writing it and drawing it. So good for them.
And it's all women.
Good for them. They're not horrible people. They're not disgusting people. That's their thing. Good for them. Let them enjoy their genre.
I feel fetishized and objectified by these horrible sexists.
These gorgeous men having sexual pleasure with each other. Oh, the humanity.
These unrealistic beauty standards.
What's actually grinding my fucking gears, though, is the fact he hasn't established that the Space Marines are fascists. He just went so fucking long on his tangent in regards to... Yeah,
he complains about the Space Marines, while the Space Marine is cutting down a Tyranid. Am I supposed to pity the Tyranid?
Yeah, or do I have to feel bad because the guy might be have a certain system of government I dislike, you know?
Do I have to feel compassion for the Dark Elder, who is a child-thieving, sadistic slaver of and torturer of you can't even
they
imagine.
They are literal Baba Yaga defection.
Well, just think about this way: if he was actually taught that fascism,
it's their culture,
or Indian, or Italian, or Nazi fascism was actually socialist. Like, imagine we explained that to him and gave him the references and showed the similarities to like modern day Canada or modern day Europe and here and there. He'd be like, "Oh, so you're saying that the Imperium is just like fascism and or socialism was 100 years ago?" It's like, yeah, but we could still like the Imperium. They're not real. We're not.
All cultures are beautiful. We have to respect the Dark Elder slave pirates.
That's the fucking thing, though. He hasn't spent any time establishing why Space Marines are racist or fascist. He just says they're fascists after spending 6 minutes claiming that the Starship Troopers Space Marines are fascists.
Even though it's satire.
He said it in the beginning that it's a satire of fascism, and you are supposed to take him on his word.
But if that's the case, then what's the problem? It's a satire. It's not supposed to be taken seriously.
Yeah, that's his point.
It's very, very strange to use a satire as a comparison and then twist it in his own words.
They always go to the satire argument because they just cannot understand how to properly, criticize this stuff and all of that. They just make strawmen constantly and fuck with that.
And what bites my ass the most is the fact that the Imperium cannot be fascist by the very definition. Everything cannot be within the state. Everything can be without the state in the Imperium. Even the most ultimate sanction of exterminatus has to go through like 7 or 8 independent bodies to be approved. We're counting Space Marines, like actual officers of the Imperium. We're talking Assassinorum. We're talking priests. We're talking so many cogs in the machine. And even if one of them disagrees, the planet can't be nuked. You're saying that is fascism? Are we talking about the same organization that had one of their most successful generals, Erwin Rommel, assassinated after a failed coup d'etat he did not partake in? Are we talking about that one? Are you sure?
No, that breaks the narrative, so we don't. And I think we are at the commies, not we, but the commies are at the point where they realize that the arguments that they invented years ago are biting them in the ass now because they keep failing and they're actually illogical and unsubstantive. So they now switch sides and take the position of, let's dismantle these arguments that we made up in the first place to look like we are right about everything. Just like we currently have a really funny controversy, again by the left, in Germany, about a nice little drink that we like to enjoy in the cold months.
Oh no.
It is called Lumumba. Lumumba is hot chocolate with whipped cream on top and a shot of rum. It's very nice.
Nice.
Why is it called Lumumba? Well, there was a commie in Africa who, long story short, got put behind a firing squad and was shot. And the left in Germany, in remembrance of this black man who was shot, called this hot chocolate with a shot of rum after his name, Lumumba. And now the left realized, I don't know, 40, 50 years later, I'd have to look it up, that there's a black drink of cocoa with a shot named after a black man who was shot. That's so racist. We need to stop calling it that. People who call it that are racist.
I don't know if I was shot in the head or whatever for whatever reason they named a drink after me. That's a pretty good way to remember a guy.
Yeah, but the current socialists hadn't gotten the memo that it's actually in honor of the socialists who was shot. We are also the leftist-run cities also forbade Christmas markets to be called Christmas markets. Now they're just winter markets.
How about the Christmas logs? Are those?
No, they're winter logs.
They're winter logs now.
Yeah, we're celebrating winter now, not Christmas. Who the hell would celebrate winter? It's cold and tries to kill you.
Yeah, welcome to Canada all year round. Oh, jeez.
The only way to enjoy snow is if you have the ability to hide behind it in a warm, cozy house.
With hot chocolate and rum and creme de cacao.
With Lumumba. Keeping you warm.
Or coffee liqueur, yeah. Anyway.
Which is also, by the way, it's a great story because it is another proof that the only good communist is a shot one.
Okay. A shot of Lumumba. All right, let's keep going.
And yes, Space Marines are fascist.
Oh my God!
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Let's go.
Let's
He
just stop.
He
and
doesn't
just keep
even
going.
bother. He doesn't even bother. He just declares it. No extrapolation. No exploration of the lore. Nothing. Just
Let's
makes
go.
a statement that they look snazzy, therefore fascist.
All right.
Space Nazis who will turn you into minced meat if you say something they deem heretical. Atrocities,
They're not
purges, and
socialists.
genocides are just par for the course for them. If your service to the Imperium means mowing down 10,000 civilians because there might be heretics among them, so be it. You're murdering women and children without any second thought or remorse.
Why? Oh my God! Yeah,
He
he
does
is
not
just using the
understand.
argument.
He does
No,
not
he
understand
understands.
at all.
This guy is just disingenuous at this point. He's showing Eldar warriors as civilians. Each and every single Eldar is forced to go through military training. Each and every one of them. Even the children. Even the ones that go goo goo gaga can pull a fucking pistol on your ass. Or use
Yeah,
psychic mind blasts on you. I'm not kidding.
So he is showing that while he is talking about heresy and the exterminatus, but the problem with heresy is that it spreads, and it can destroy planets and
That's
and
what
all
gets
of
you
that.
demons.
Yes,
That's what gets you tyrannids.
that's why you have to get rid of it as soon as possible.
That's what gets you Tau. And don't forget, well, if you ever get in the vicinity of any Tau, they only have 9 planets. They effectively don't exist. Just saying. They're also within the in the midst of the most war-active Necron dynasty, which if it took ever note of the blueberries, would just cuff them out of existence. They exist because they're insignificant.
Being
What I wanted
a
to
race.
say,
Okay.
what I wanted to say is that Nazis were racists and socialists. The Space Marines are neither. If anything, they are speciesist. And you better be, because if you're not, the species is dead.
Okay.
But socialism, they don't give a shit how you organize your planet.
12 minutes in.
Drone bred for combat, and that's just what it's like to live under the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. If you doubt me, I invite you to check out the episode in the Garden of
He
Ghosts
just
from the
implied
Hammer
that
and Bolter
Imperium
series, where we are treated to
is
a
the
scene of a
cruelest
purged
regime
Forge world. No,
in
wait,
the Warhammer.
that's the Adeptus Mechanicus thing. All right. Craft world. That's a giant space habitat, basically, where the Eldari, the
No, let him cook.
Oh, that was me. So is he a knife ear hugger?
Let him cook. Let's see what his point is.
space home to millions at minimum. Well, the noble Ultramarines massacred the entire Forge world, murdering untold thousands of men, women and children, because they were Xenos, therefore degenerate, therefore worthy of death. Shout out to Purity Seal for this lore tip, by the way. You can find his channel under @ThePuritySeal. In popular first-person shooters,
Oh boy.
Okay, so those spacecraft, more often than not, are found out. You know how? Because they commit massive raids on human settlements. They don't just get run into by the space marines. They have to be revealing themselves, partake in combat, leave, and be tracked down by the space marines. You don't just accidentally bump into an Eldar warship. They know where you are. At all times, they can fucking track you beyond the goddamn stars. Again, you don't bump into these fuckers. You chase them. If they're dumb enough to reveal themselves and harass humanity, and the humanity that I'm speaking of doesn't track down these fuckers even when they raid, because it's not worth it. It's made a point in the Gathering Storms, might I add, that, which is modern 40k, mind you, with these progressive assholes in directive charge, that if the Imperium really hated the Eldar as much as the propaganda tells them, the craft worlds would be gone. The Imperium would capture a bunch of Eldar that would be partaking in raids, be that of Eldar or Dark Eldar, have their psychics mind rape them, and turn them into giant light houses for these Eldar planets, or these floating Eldar cities, and just trace them back to the origin point. Like taking a male buck and a female buck, separating them, and watching the male catch up to the female, and seeing where he goes. There wouldn't be much more to it, and it would not be the first time they've done it. You don't run into these assholes. It's something that they have done in the first place to get to that point.
The thing is rather that the Eldar are useful in so far as they occupy other forces.
All right.
However, things cannot be depicted because your game would be banned worldwide. A Warhammer 40k shooter game true to the lore would be a war crime simulator.
No! It wouldn't have to be!
If you play a dark, if you make a Dark Eldar game, maybe.
There's all kinds of games from 40k. What is he talking about?
There are entire games about just killing demons from the Grey Knights. There are games like Chaosgate with a wonderful soundtrack, all about fighting Chaos Space Marines. I know Whisp hates it, but goddamn, that game is...
Which one?
Chaosgate, you know, the XCOM Warhammer game.
Oh, this ancient one from the 90s.
Yeah, the one with the banger soundtrack.
Yeah, the game was horrible.
So additionally...
Yeah, so with horrible opinion aside, what are you going to say, Robert?
Yeah, that he just told you that you could not make a game about, committing war crimes and all of that because it would be banned worldwide, while he is showing you a fragment of a game that had you murdering civilians.
There's plenty of games that we blew up planets. We blew up cities. We blew up towns. We blew up rooms full of people. So what is he talking about? These are people know their games. They know their PG-17 or whatever the R rating is.
We know you played Papers, Please, which is basically a war
but
crime
look
game,
at
or a crime
StarCraft.
against humanity game.
It's to just you destroy entire systems. So
But the graphics look nice and quirky.
Okay.
So it's okay if it looks nice and sleek. It's okay. Like they made a Fire Warrior game for some reason.
It's because 40k cannot depict genocide, that it wouldn't appeal to people. You're telling me that you couldn't make a game about killing civilians be fun?
I could write a story about genocide and have it be entertaining. It's not hard.
We have games about recreational nukes.
Yeah.
Yes, and we have Civilization's Gandhi. Everyone loves them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a ridiculous point, and a straw man at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as I said, make a Dark Eldar game. That's gonna be...
And it would just be weird playing as a psychotic, murderous maniac committing crimes against humanity for 8 hours without...
Okay, this guy is just making stuff up. This is so dumb. He is he's as you said, he's making a straw man and he's just poking. Like, oh look, it's so silly. It would never happen. It's like we there are games like this. There are plenty of games.
Lala, is he a gene stealer?
He does argue against communism and Russia, so I can't say he's a gene stealer because their whole shtick is communism. The worker
No. He
uprising.
argues against Russia, but not against communism.
Good point.
Current day Russia is not communist, and they try everything to keep this psychological weapon, the KGB, unleashed onto the Western world out of Russia as much as they can. They know what they did.
I would say, honestly, I would probably say either Gene Stealer or full-on Scene. He's a contrarian for his own sake.
That sounds more close to...
I've met plain contrarians. This is not a plain contrarian.
No, he's tactically contradicting himself.
Yeah, but then that would make him a gene stealer, because the plain contrarian is chaotic neutral. He is chaotic with a direction, with an agenda.
Are you saying Sinch is chaotic neutral?
I would say so, yeah.
Did you miss the part of his title called Chaos God? In hell?
Yeah, he makes chaos for the sake of chaos. Plans for the sake of making plans that change things for the sake of changing them.
Why do those plans always turn into monsters that will spawn more satanic creatures?
Because there's more chaos.
Okay, right. Wouldn't that naturally mean that there'd also be good stuff that comes out of them, like angels and stuff that protects people, but it's always evil monsters?
I think you're just judging it by the end product.
That's usually how you measure things, yeah.
While this sounds infinitely more interesting, let's try to finish the video.
Right, sorry.
Yeah.
Not any or remorse. Actually, that sounds like super fun. Wait, I'm sorry. Above. Who let these children in here? But I love playing as an unrepentant murderer psycho. Yeah, try playing Mass Effect as a renegade. Don't believe me? Apparently, according to Mass Effect player stats, 92.
Why are you bringing this up?
Oh my god.
What does this have anything to do with this?
Go ahead. Take the floor.
2% of players played as Paragon and only 8% as Renegade. Most people just don't want to be an asshole, not even in video games. But even if a Warhammer shooter was true to form and the player was made to feel like a disposable cog in a purposeless murder machine tasked with the occasional genocide, there are people who would love that and would absolutely play that game.
So he just brought up Mass Effect, which has nothing to do with 40K, aside from being in a parent genre, I guess, space or science fiction, where the stats are people mostly play the good guy.
Because there's no content on the renegade side.
Because the whole point of being a good guy is to save everyone, to stop the big bad. If you kill everyone and get rid of all this stuff and delete all the data and do everything poorly, then you're not going to have any. There's like maybe 4 or 5 renegade options that are just for saving data and keeping things alive. The whole point of the game is to stop the big bad. As opposed to if Mass Effect was in the 40K universe, then everything would be Renegade. And you'd have flavors of Renegade. You wouldn't be Paragon Renegade. It'd be Renegade and then Grimdark Renegade or whatever.
My god, does Hammer and Bolter look bad?
There are 3 core philosophies in the Owlcat Rogue Trader game. That is humanitarian, ironclad, and heretic. Very flexible options, where one is focusing on what is morally right for the people, one that is bound by the law of the land, and one that is chaos, one that is change, one that is the unexpected. These alone form the philosophies of much of the setting. And you don't have that you can't have that in Mass Effect. You can't be going around preaching the law of the land despite being an extensive arm of the law of the land, because the law is fucking broken.
And especially the third game where they didn't even bother to have proper options as well. There's no point because everyone's going to die. So you can be the goody two-shoes, but it doesn't matter because everyone's going to die tomorrow. Like there's things they could have done better, obviously, with the writing. But we're talking about 2 very different experiences or 2 very different settings and scenarios and plots. It's like, yes, they're in space. There's these are two. I don't even know why he went there.
He's declared himself a righteous individual. All his points are correct. If you disagree with him, you're just a psychopath.
Yeah, he
you're
could
the
have.
1%.
He could have said, "Well, most people play male shepherd." It's like, yeah. What's your point? Are they sexist now? No, it's mostly guys. Mostly guys like to play as guys. Wow, what a big revelation that was. It's so stupid. Because there's a moral system in a video game. Whoa, everyone's mostly moral. It's like, yeah, try playing Pathfinder. You know, people love choosing devil or demon or lich. Like, it's fun.
Well, we do know that the SJWs mainly make tiefling characters.
Oh, well.
I make tiefling characters. I think they're funny to play around
Yeah,
with.
but
when you don't
but
just
we
make them
them
gypsies.
we make them for better reasons.
There-
we
there
make them
are-
for actual role play reasons.
There was I can't remember if it was a Games Radar or one of those stupid lists that, you know, the top 10 RPGs for being evil, and Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous was number 1, but there's like other ones that you can go to and compare why people choose and say it's a very like 2 paragraphs each. It's very brief. But at least there's options for it, and the whole game changes based off those evil choices. So I like the fact that some games do that, but not a lot do. In Mass Effect, there's really being renegade is like kind of the joke option, even in Mass Effect 2. Oh, you get to push the guy through the window, ha ha ha. Or you don't.
You get to rape Jack.
You do it for the sex, and then she doesn't want to talk to you anymore. It's like, okay. Whoop-de-doo. Like, it's not the end of the world. There's no real dark choices. Even like killing the Rachni isn't considered dark. It's considered good. So you
Also,
say,
Smut, pull yourself back like just a little bit. You're swallowing your microphone.
Still?
There, better.
I don't have that issue. Maybe turn down his volume.
That might be it.
Anyway, I just don't like this. All of his comparisons sucks. Like every single one. Like he's trying to use an analogy or a literal reference, and they all just like make his point worse or just off topic.
I get that. But if you're making a game, you want to appeal to the widest audience possible,
No.
not just to people in terror
what?
watch lists.
The widest audience, not the modern audience.
Not the audience you're actually selling the game toward. No. The widest audience.
Are you telling us that the wider audience is not the modern audience? Because that would explain why anything pandering to the modern audience doesn't sell, because it's not very wide. It's in fact non-existent, because the modern audience has to be created first.
Yeah.
Just like the new man. It's a new audience that you have to invent and artificially craft.
Could you imagine?
And you believe that happens if you just rewrite everything and everybody only has your ideology to choose and thereby becomes the new man, the modern audience, the socialist.
Can you imagine the philosophy of Kreia in KOTOR 2 if she had to water down her rendition of what she thought the Force was to the modern audience of whatever that, like, it would just be like, there would be no subversion. There would just be, well, there's light in the dark and I'm somewhere in between. And you're like, what? What are you talking about? Like, compared to her analysis of Nar Shaddaa, like, everything you do is wrong. The Force is always against you. It has to be stopped. It's an entity. It's like that. Those are complicated ideas. You can't water those down. I mean, you could try to make them more clear to the average viewer, but then it would just be this really uninteresting old woman who's talking to you like she's your mother. And it's like, okay, Mom, I don't quite understand why you're describing this Force thing, and then you want to destroy it.
I find it very funny that he argues that you have to make a game that's as widely appealing as possible.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that the game is intentionally focusing just on the Space Marines, who are not the most widely appealing faction possible.
Well, yeah, but
since the Imperial Guard, Tyranids, Orcs are arguably bigger, like, stuff for you to draw from for the fans, hence them including Tyranids this time rather than Orcs. Well, and then subverting those expectations like halfway through the game.
Even in the gameplay context, imagine Doom the first Doom appealed more to Nintendo Super Mario Brother players. Like it wouldn't make it. Like, it wouldn't be Doom. It'd be this colorful palette of shooting Goombas with the fireball or something very lame. Yeah, you could do that. It wouldn't be Doom anymore. It'd be something completely different. So no, you don't make games because they appeal to everyone. You make a game because they appeal to a very specific gamer style, gamer genre. And you give them exactly, if you're going to make a Doom game, give them all these cool weapons, have them fight all these demons, have all these cool tricks. You can do wall jumping, rocket jumps, whatever. Have all this fun stuff. And you wouldn't appeal to the Harvest Moon crowd. You wouldn't appeal to the Pokemon crowd. You know,
it's cope. It's fucking cope. That's
so
all this
silly.
is.
No one has this philosophy in game design. No one does. All your technology, it converges to a point. It doesn't diverge. I don't make a first-person shooter that's also a base-building simulator, which is also a flight sim, which is also a puzzle game.
You can do that. It's called Armor Free, but Armor Free has its very own niche fan base.
Yeah,
and it's niche, but it's not small.
Genre mixes are always a tough experiment.
Making the mega game, like the game that does everything, like that. It's so silly. I remember that. What was that? I made a joke about this. I never made a video though because it was so funny. This game, it was announced this year. I think it's coming out next year, and it had elements of every game you ever saw, and it was like it looks like Witcher 3, but it has like combat from I don't know, maybe an action RPG. You could.
You mean like Witcher?
I guess kind of like what it's, but you could ride a horse. You could do all these maneuvers on the horse.
Like Witcher.
You can fly in the air like Zelda. You can be shot out of a cannonball. Like all these crazy things, and it was so you can grab someone and throw like all these maneuvers. You could shoot with bow and arrow.
Like Witcher.
You can shoot a bow and arrow in Witcher.
Yes, the crossbow is one of the main weapons you have in a game.
It's just everything, and it probably has absolutely no sense to it.
It's one of these games. I can't remember what it's called, but
just random mechanics.
It just like it was so crazy. Like it felt like an RPG with just so much stuff going on, and flying and teleporting and martial arts. And I'm like, this game is nuts. Like to pull this off is crazy. And I guess it does appeal to the Witcher fans and the Zelda fans. But that is stuff like when kids think of game design, they think of like an MMO. They think of like, oh, I want this persistent universe. All my friends are going to be there. We're going to build stuff. Anyway.
In Space Marine 2, the latest Warhammer 40K game ended up doing the former, choosing appeal over what I would call honesty about its universe. You're not a mindless, psychotic drone killing in the name of a doomed fascist empire, but a noble, heroic warrior protecting your home from freaks and degenerates. The overt satire is basically gone because it had to be. There are allusions to the Imperium being bad, but not nearly overt enough. A Warhammer 40K true to form would be like a version of Modern Warfare where every second mission is no Russian, only even more bloody and deranged. But if
oh my fucking god, do you think the Ukraine war is just no Russian on repeat? Do you think there are no honest to god trench battles where it's just combatants throwing grenades at each other? Do you think there are no glorious last stands in Bakhmut? Do you think there's no terrible like offenses in Bakhmut where they're fighting over a fucking trash pile? Do you think it's all just people mowing down civilians without resistance? Are you fucking high?
He probably also believes that every soldier in the Wehrmacht was an evil monster that just wanted 100%. To suck the blood of infants.
100%.
Instead of conscripted guys who, had they refused, would have been shot on the spot.
It's like Modern Warfare, guys. What do you think Modern Warfare is? Not the game, mind you. Actual war. And if it means Modern Warfare, how the fuck do you think 40K is comparable to that one scene where you're playing covert ops shooting civilians? when every example they give us in 40K of that kind of shit is where the characters are showing up to that event and it's happening, and it's usually not them committing the act, or it's described in a lore blurb. Bring up the fucking chapter where the main character is the one committing the no Russian. Bring that shit up, and if I see a fucking chaos mark on their flesh, it's more than justified. Because that's the setting you're working with. But then again, he doesn't care. He's this ingenuous asshole that's just using this franchise as a jumping off point for his own growth.
A game like that, most countries wouldn't even let them like Space Marine 2, and I do think it's a good game. Just before anyone would start yelling at me how the game isn't bad, actually. I agree, it's a good game, it's cool and epic, and I like it. But there are overarching issues with it, which we're currently discussing. Now, the reason why the Warhammer 40K books and tabletop games are allowed to get away with containing atrocities, while video games aren't, is because in the game you would get to act out said atrocities. At the very least, we would get vivid depictions of them. You don't just read about, say, Space Marine
In Owlcat's very own game that came out last fucking year, you can genocide several planets.
Mm-hmm.
You can nuke. There is no option. You can just exterminate an entire planet in the tutorial with no survivors. No rescue, no nothing. That's up to you. Shut the fuck up. Oh, the game couldn't get away with it because it has to be appealing to people. Yeah, it has to appeal to people that are fans of the game. That doesn't mean that it restrains the people making the game. And it certainly didn't restrain them from showing how fucking terrifying tyrannies are, despite the fact they didn't have to animate several billion fucking flying creatures that swallow 70% of my RAM just trying to launch them. They didn't have to do that. They just felt like doing it. Good on them for doing that. You disingenuous fuckhead.
I think it was called, I'm trying to remember the name, Crimson Desert. I could be wrong. Yeah, I think that was it.
What an uncatching name.
Yeah, upcoming action RPG developed by Pearl Abyss. Yeah.
Also, I know he hasn't. Sorry about the interrupting the discussions on the Jack of all trades game, but I had to mention he put up Double Eagle by Dan Abnett. You know what Double Eagle is based on? The Battle for fucking Britain, where we are following the British people defending themselves against the Nazis.
It's fascism to fight the Nazis.
All right.
This motherfucker didn't read any of the shit he's pretending here. Otherwise, I refuse to believe that he actually thinks that, oh, you can't depict any of this shit. Because Double Eagle has basically nothing to do with the greater evils of the Imperium, unless you count inter-branch conflict or stereotypes as being fascist, which would not shock me.
All right.
say Marines murdering 10,000 women and children, or you don't just play with miniatures of a Space Marine faction, which according to the lore once murdered 10,000 women and children. Nope, this is an interactive video game where you are a Space Marine.
What about 10,000 women soldiers? What about 10,000 heretic women soldiers? They're all innocent. No, they're just summoning. They're just trying to summon a demon lord. Oh, don't know. He's not talking with context. They never do.
Your next is to purge a civilian slum of 10,000 where the presence of heretics is suspected. Here's your chainsword and plasma incinerator. Good luck. And then you get dropped onto the map with a counter appearing on your screen standing at 0 out of 10,000. Nobody would want to play that game, and those who even bother to try wouldn't have fun playing it if the game was even legal to distribute. Even though...
Do you think Doom is illegal? Are you genuinely this retarded?
They tried to ban it.
How well did that go?
You could easily make a story about having a like on your helmet, your heads-up display, like a counter of how many you have to kill. Maybe,
How many enemies are in the vicinity?
Yeah, I mean that's not hard to do, and it wouldn't be on the screen all the time. Like you could take the helmet off, or you have a different perspective. So the idea of you're going to be killing people, it's like, yeah,
that's your job.
That's the point. There's plenty of games where you are the villain and you hurt or kill people.
Or antagonist, or anti-hero like Blood, where you can shoot civilians if you want. Sometimes they even make funny splashing noises when you do, or funny dialogue trigger when you kill them.
Also, the thing that he has put here on the screen looks off. It's like front of the breastplate and the rest is backwards.
Yeah.
This is AI generated.
Maybe.
So such a game would fit perfectly into the Warhammer 40K universe. Such is life under the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable in the Grimdark future. And that's just what they often do to fellow humans.
Oh my fucking god. Why would you ever just drag out Reddit? Just pull up the fucking books. Most of them are free.
Because all of his knowledge about this topic comes from Reddit, seems like it.
Seriously, it's not fucking hard. Look up any goddamn Warhammer book, PDF, or free, or anything of the sort. You can get it. It's free. It's free. Fuck.
All right, we're at 15 minutes. Another 7 left.
Sentient, non-human civilians, even if not hostile, usually just get instantly murdered.
They're Xenos. That's the point.
The Tau are mind-controlled communists.
What's the quote?
You can't trust them.
Do not suffer the Xeno to live, or something like that. Like that's the common.
Do not suffer the Xenos to live, brothers.
Yeah, it's a common phrase. What's the problem? That's the
Tau. So they're mind-controlled, and they take over planets by subversion, and then eugenicide them through making them infertile. And I wonder where I've heard that before. I don't think those are good people to keep around.
Mm.
Just a notion.
Fucking ridiculous them having to defend a Tau book. They're awful, by the way. Tau books are not good. Ever. They're always awful. Because they're always written by people that want to make the Tau seem believable in any way. Or justifiable. Which they aren't, even in their own world. Eldar at least have the understanding that they came first. And have to use their own shit going on. Yeah. As well as Necrons. And if anyone brings up the Infinite and the Divine as a Necron book, I'm going to beat you with a solid chair.
All right. Let's go.
Or worked to death as slaves. So Games Workshop had to take a different approach with their AAA game. For the sake of broad appeal, they had to gracefully sideline the unspeakable evil and cruelty of the Imperium. You're not committing atrocities, genocides, and other war crimes.
You don't have to. Not every mission has to. I feel like I'm repeating myself here. But not every Space Marine mission is about genociding children. Fucking weirdo.
If he was honest, if he was honest about chaos, Space Marines, and all that other chaos shit, he could not argue that because he would have to acknowledge how chaos operates and gain strength, which is, strangely enough, similar to how a Soviet regime tries to keep out thought criminals. So we see another reflection of how he mistakes what he calls fascism, conflates that with what his ideology does in actuality every time it comes into power. And as we have seen numerous times on the internet, on platforms like YouTube, like Twitter, when the left controls them. These people just can't be honest.
It's insect insectoid space alien predators which threaten to overwhelm everything. In contrast to the bugs in the Starship Troopers movie, Tyranids are not the victims of aggression. Their singular goal is to devour absolutely everything. They are a force of nature, basically, and there is nothing morally wrong with killing them. The other enemy faction appearing in Space Marine 2 are the Forces of Chaos, who are just evil. Once again, nothing wrong with killing them. So your character, Titus of the Ultramarines, is doing the good thing, really. He's a protagonist. He's also a brainwashed space Nazi psychopath, prepared to commit even the most heinous atrocities without a hint of doubt, should his masters command.
So his argument, his lasting argument, the creme de la creme of his stance, is that because Titus might have killed a civilian in the past, that means that you were playing as a fascist dictator, evil man.
Astartes psychopaths.
Yes.
By his logic, yes.
No, it's like
Salamanders
I would frankly say that to be a space marine is to be a psychopath to one level or another.
Probably.
You can have compassion to a
Then you are
limited
not a
degree.
psychopath. If you have compassion, you are not a psychopath.
I would
They have to be very
disagree.
hardened. In order to survive war, you have to be very hardened. But that doesn't mean you don't have compassion.
Alright, what word would you then use, O wise sage of the English language?
It has nothing to do with the English language.
What word would you use then? What word would you use then?
They're professional soldiers. That's it. That doesn't automatically make you a psychopath.
The shit they do is not professional soldierism.
All right.
It's also not psychopathic.
Ripping a person in two is not something a professional trooper does.
In Space Marine 2, Titus is mostly portrayed as a selfless war hero instead. And I know that there is a bit more nuance to the story and the character, especially in light of the previous game, but that unfortunately doesn't matter. That's stuff for lore wonks, not your average player who might not even have played the previous game.
Or you, apparently, who hasn't read a single thing you flash in the screen.
Nuance is lost on them, and because of this, due to the satire taking a backseat, we have lunatic space Nazis made to look like heroes, tirelessly fighting against a tidal wave of freaks that threaten to destroy their glorious civilization. Which is exactly how, say, white nationalists think of themselves, isn't it?
No. What? What do you... Where are we going with this? How are we getting from
We already got this earlier with the bugs being Jews. I was just waiting for him to bring up how he's gonna compare this to white nationalism, and he finally got there. Look at all those creased flags. Look at all those perfect timed rallies with people you've never seen before, ever heard inside any organization whatsoever, suddenly showing up out of the woodworks with all their flags and slogans perfectly.
Well, of course, they're very orderly people. They iron their flags before they go to demonstrate. Or rather don't, because we still see that they have the folding creases because they just took them out of the plastic.
All right.
The brave protecting white civilization from an onslaught of swarthy subhumans.
What?
I'm going to stop right now. I'm just tired of this guy.
That's fair.
No.
This is getting stupid.
But
I'm putting my foot down. There's no more we can gain from this. He's put on the ukulele music. He's showing Elon Musk in a video about the problem Warhammer 40K. There's no point in this.
We were expecting Trump somewhere. Elon Musk is close enough. This is getting farcical.
While pointing out then an official strategy of the left in every country.
The problem with
the Social Democratic Party did this in the 50s in Germany post-war, where they made the Turkish guest workers into permanent citizens so that they could capitalize on their votes. This is an ancient tactic. There's nothing.
Well, this is
the only conspiratorial thing about it is that they don't always advertise it. but they sometimes do.
This is like every video that we may have covered with Maggie May. It's the problem with X is modern politics I disagree with, and he just kept making references for the sake of that. And it's like, dude, that's not how an argument works. Your references don't work, especially when you contradict them or twist them. It's just, here's another popular thing. Let me reference that. Like this, all this nonsense. Anyway, I think we're done.
Yeah,
At least
he's not
I'm
really
tired.
talking about Warhammer.
Yeah, no, it just keeps going
He's talking
on.
about everything else.
I'm sure we have some
Video
memes because this
about
was
everything else
so.
but Warhammer.
Yeah, this was so out there. We have some memes. Okay, we'll see what we got.
Everything is projection.
All right. Point of view. You look submissive and archivable. Okay. Oh, dear. Commit actions unsupported by the Codex Astartes. Okay. Uh-huh. Oh, dear. What's this? Commissar, we can do a war today. Okay. I just found out Kevin hasn't been...
Hasn't even had his first kiss yet.
Kiss him and go back to the war. Best commissar.
Yay!
There it is. All hail God Emperor Trump, chosen by heaven. I'll watch that later. I'm sure it's fun. They have a bunch of really fun videos that came out post-election. So I'm sure it's one of them. Op actually can stop. Oh. Okay. Warhammer 40K factions if they were explained by Donald Trump. Oh, yeah. I think that's one of those AI-generated voice things.
Yes.
Those are fun. Food only. Absolutely no science in this microwave. What? Who's sad there?
Never mind. That video with Trump is just different clips of him describing different things. That's great.
All right. Die, Zetos, Abomination, Sweet Liberty. Are we even needed here? Show up. Yeah, this is the two games.
This is what I meant. I called them psychopaths. It's not accurate in the psychological term, but describing a dude as professional soldier ripping a buck in two with his bare fucking fist because he can.
That's just efficient.
Not efficient.
Of course it's efficient. He's saving ammunition.
That's not efficient when he's surrounded by 50 other bucks doing so.
Saving ammunition is environmentally friendly and very economically viable.
He's going to die. Sorry about earlier, though. I was getting fucking mad at this video. Holy shit.
What do we got here? What is this? Bunch of guys pointing at a bunch of people dancing? What?
Oh, yeah, it's when I was talking about the Eldar showing up to kill the custodes. I was mentioning that it wasn't actually custodes they killed, but the meme is funny. Because it's where a lot of people first got introduced to the custodes, is them getting murdered by elves.
Okay.
Fucking heresy!
Reject modernity. Embrace tradition.
The original space.
Interesting. Must we bear this foolish indignity?
Yes, until morale improves.
Europeans when their girlfriend smiles instead of skilometers? What?
I think this is a reference to the big European United Europe.
No, it's the joke about US using miles and Europe using kilometers.
Oh, I get what the joke is. I'm talking about like in what point
probably.
the video is a reference to.
I wake up, there is another psyop. Yeah, this guy. Concern? Is that a god?
No,
Me
concern
upon
is a joke because, well, K.
Me upon hearing that women buy orcs because they find them hot.
Oh.
Concerned.
First time pay.
That was me.
That's
Everyone has been there.
That's what you have
If
test figures
And
for.
if it's an anime girl, she should be painting a Gundam, not a 40K.
Yotsuba can paint whatever she wants.
This post was fact-checked by Propa Orkigits. What?
That's the socket truth right there, mate.
The Archcast Suspicious Song. I will play that on my own time.
Funny.
You should get Canadian health care now. What? You don't have a choice. You already got it. It's federal. Everyone's got it. There isn't enough female representation in 40K. Are we a joke to you?
Do you see the mech pilot?
All the sisterhood, yeah, it's huge.
Do you see the quasi goddess?
Yeah,
And
that's
the
weird.
other one. And the other one.
It's as if writers know what they were doing when they created the world. Like, yeah, we should probably think about the women. And what do we do with them? Well, we'll make a whole entire group just for women. It's like, oh yeah. What the heck am I looking at?
Just fucking do as I say, my children. No, fuck off.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Plants vs. Zombies.
Oh.
Absolute nonsense. Of course we'll defend you.
First Warhammer 40K fan to have sex. Henry Cavill is expecting his first child with girlfriend Natalie Viscuso. Oh, that's nice. Good for them.
He started out as a fat nerd.
Yeah.
No joke.
Then he went to the gym.
Then he became Superman.
The many lies of the... Oh, good for you, sir, Asmagon. Good stuff. Yes, I'm going to watch that later because this was just nauseating. Tabletop Inquirer Travel Gatachan, far less terrifying than 4chan.
For reference, Tabletop Inquirer are leftist assholes that hate the hobby.
Really?
Yeah.
Weird.
Some people repost their memes because occasionally a broken clock strikes right twice a day.
What is this?
Oh, that's why the eagle is fat.
What a strange bell curve. Look at that. Either ends are like, the only good bug is a dead bug. What do we got here? I would never be a simp. At your service, my queen. Come on. They're both hot. What are you talking about?
Yeah, they're both wonderful.
They're both beautiful people of the Federation.
The pilot just can't park.
Know the difference. It could save your life. Okay. Media. Oh, I don't want to. Even mentioning media literacy, it hurts my brain. And then saying media literacy, ignore. I would say media literacy agnostic. It doesn't exist. There's the... I will interpret every piece of Zog trash media to be about whatever the hell I want. I have no media literacy. I have no respect for the author's intent. Every book, movie, game, song, television show, everything. Reinterpret every piece of Zog trash media. What is Zog trash?
No idea.
Zog as in C-O-G?
Z-O-G, yeah.
Yeah, that's orc for fuck.
Oh. Well, you shouldn't interpret any way you want. You should interpret the proper way, which requires objectivity, so. I don't know what this is. Yeah, I don't like it. Any reference to media literacy, my brain just goes to mush. Behold, the most controversial video I've ever made, the moral dilemma that broke Freyren? What? Again, another media literacy mention.
Ooh.
Freyren
That's the guy arguing that, oh yeah, fear and saying that demons are evil is actually white supremacy.
They are evil.
The demons in Frieren are actual psychopaths.
Yes.
Of course, you're a Tau guy? Oh, really? Something on Adam's community post where he mostly says everyone who disagrees with me misses the point and calls Ark, oh, really? A white supremacist? Really? Because he disagrees with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the anarcho-communist is actually a white supremacist.
You buy those, marinate them in pure isopropyl alcohol until the paint dissolves, then repaint them properly. That's what I did with many of mine. What?
And of course he plays Tau.
And yeah, the isopropyl alcohol is a common way to strip paint. Probably talking about the bad first paint job.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
never get my 2.5 hours back from this. Yeah, it was bad. I mean, even if a person who doesn't know Warhammer, just sitting there like listening to the arguments is like, oh God, Lord. Have friends, sir. Talk to your friends. Have them listen to your trivial before you decide to go into full production. Tim Curry, yeah, is my favorite Tim Curry quote.
I love that clip.
Yeah. I could use
It's
it every month on like anything and it'll work. All right. Well, the memes were fun. I'll say that. I enjoyed the memes. Everything else, that was bad. And we're ending on an Elon Musk reference. I'm like, I don't care anymore. This guy can go to the ether. I can forget about him, and I'll be happy. One more super chat from Frog Jupiter, then we can go and work out and have some tea, and life is good again.
I wish it was that easy.
Ah, sir, you have to get into my discipline every day. He's just mad that the Chuds rolled with Trump as the God Emperor insult. Leftists get mad at you for them depicting you as the Chad and them as weak. That'd be hilarious because Trump won. He's like, weeks later, I got to make a video about Warhammer or some stupid shit.
Maybe it's good that we had 4 years of Biden because that gave Trump ample time to figure out what the hell really is wrong.
Let's hope so.
And then everybody to see how bad things really are.
I'm scared for Elon, though, because he's going to be not just cutting budgets, but, disturbing all the people involved in big government. And we're talking like everything. So it's not just the military. It's like every other organization. So he's going to be enemy number one in the state. So,
oh, yeah, the ATF will shoot his dog, I'm sure.
I don't know what's going to happen to him. The first few months, like, good luck, Elon. You're putting a giant target or several giant targets on your back. So.
Yeah, somebody has to. Otherwise, this just grows so far that everything collapses.
I can't imagine
that everything's gone anyway.
Can you imagine the debt going like past 40 trillion, like 40 trillion with a T? Like my brain just can't even process that.
All right, before we wrap this up, I found the Superior Satire, like 40K article. They're still stuck on Facebook for some ungodly reason, but they're actually kind of funny. The Imperial Herald, the original edgy boys, made an article based on this video titled, "Man with absolutely no interest in 40K explains why it needs to change."
Well, yeah, I definitely have to take a break after that video. That was bad. And please watch it and you make your own opinion, but I'm going to hit that downvote very soon. And I was leaving a comment. I was like, nope, this is going nowhere. Every single paragraph this man wrote, I would have to comment on. And I'm like, I don't have time. I don't care. It's Christmas. I'm happy. Things are good. Economy is interesting. I'm happier with other things in my brain than this gentleman. So, yes, let's call it a day.
It's a long Friday ahead of us still.
Yeah, it's freezing.
Better to enjoy it.
It's freezing. It's snowy. I want to stay positive and think happy thoughts and have delicious hot chocolate. Or I made some
Lumumba
chocolate mousse last week. It's been pretty good. So I'm very happy this week. So things are nice.
Add a shot of rum.
I would have to buy some rum.
I used coffee liqueur actually for my.
You can use amaretto too.
I do have that obviously, but no, I did not touch that. Not
now. I did put my Baldur's Gate 3 game on pause for this, and I do mean when I say that I'm never gonna get those hours back.
Yeah.
I wish I could just turn back time to the good old days after 9/11, but here we are. And I wanted to say thank you for everyone for coming.
Yeah, it was one of those bad videos that we can't even joke about. Maggie Mae Fish being absolutely crazy. This person just lied and made stuff up
a lot.
Yeah,
that's right.
I'd love to say he was ignorant and he just read Reddit, and that's probably the case. But I think if he plays the game and he must have read something, and he
it's not dumb enough for that. It is malicious.
Yeah, there's something else going on there aside from ignorance. So Unfortunately. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, be happy. It's Christmas time. Take it easy. We'll talk to you soon. Enjoy your weekend. Take it easy.